Chapter 44-42. Ling Xiao, you're from the upper realm. Why don't you tell us what the upper realm is like? Is it very different from the lower realm? Shangguan Yingying turned to look at Ao Ling Xiao. Among the four of them, only Ao Ling Xiao knew about the upper realm. Moreover, he had been in the upper realm since he was young. When Ziren and Mo Yunjue also looked at Ao Ling Xiao, they also want to know more about the upper realm. Ao Ling Xiao chuckled when he saw everyone's curious expressions. Actually, there's not much difference between the upper realm and the lower realm. The biggest difference is that the cultivators are generally very powerful. The upper realm and the lower realm are separated by power. Other than that, there's not much difference. There should be more treasures in the upper realm than in the lower realm, right? Ao Ling Xiao nodded. Indeed, many of the treasures in the lower realm actually end up in the upper realm. With our current strength, we have to keep a low profile when we go to the upper realm. Otherwise, we'll easily attract disaster. Not only that, but when we go to the upper realm, our talents will awaken. Our cultivation methods will also be different from before. Talents awaken. Mo Yunjue raised his eyebrows. His handsome eyes were filled with doubt and inquiry. Actually, every cultivator has their own talents. Those below the Starlight Realm don't know. Those above the Starlight Realm can awaken their talents. As Ao Ling Xiao walked, he explained the process and meaning of talent awakening to Ziren and the others. After listening to everything, the three of them couldn't help but sigh. It turned out that after reaching this level, the cultivation methods would be different. It was really surprising. No wonder the cultivators in the upper realm are so powerful. Not only do they have more cultivation resources than us, but their cultivation methods are also different. Shangguan Yingying shrugged. Beichen and Hong Zhuang's talents are so powerful. I'm afraid they've already left us in the dust. We have to hurry and catch up with them. With their current strength, it was no longer as dangerous to walk in the training ground as before. It could be said that they were familiar with the way to the entrance of the upper realm. Along the way, they also met many cultivators, but everyone was here to gain experience. Seeing the four of them going deeper in without stopping, everyone was obviously curious. However, a voice suddenly rang out from behind them as they hurried on their way. Junior brother, junior sister, wait for me. Hearing that, the four couldn't help but stop and look back. When they saw that it was Wan Yinling, they were a bit surprised. Eldest senior brother, why are you here? Ao Ling Xiao looked at Wan Yinling in astonishment. If Wan Yinling was leading a group of people here, they wouldn't find it strange. However, it was strange that Wan Yinling was alone, when Ziren and the other two were also sizing him up. After the incident at the remains, they had a pretty good impression of Wan Yinling. Although an accident happened later on, none of them had expected it to happen. Are you going to head to the upper realm? Wan Yinling asked with a bright smile. That's right. Ao Ling Xiao nodded. How did eldest senior brother know? Chapter 44-43. When Ziren and the others came to an understanding when they heard this, but they still couldn't help but be surprised in their hearts. Senior brother Wan Yin, if we didn't happen to be going today, would you go to the upper realm alone? Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but ask. According to Ao Ling Xiao, the cultivators in the upper realm were extremely powerful. Even the four of them had to be careful. If Wan Yinling was going to go alone, the risk would be even more shocking. Looking at everyone's shocked expressions, Wan Yinling smiled faintly and said, Originally, I wasn't the only one who wanted to go. However, not everyone wants to go to a wider world. Sometimes, staying in this familiar place was also a very good way to live. However, my elder brother has already gone to the upper realm. Before he left, I promised him that I would go to the upper realm to find him. Now that he has stayed in the upper realm for a long time, I should go and meet him. Hearing Wan Yinling's words, everyone immediately understood. It seemed that the cultivator who had made an agreement with Wan Yinling had decided to stay in the lower realm. In fact, during the time they stayed on Penglai Island, they also discovered that some cultivators in the Penglai Palace knew about the existence of the upper realm. They just chose not to go. Everyone had different thoughts. Some people didn't want to see the wider world. After all, after so many years of hard work, it wasn't easy to achieve such achievements in the lower realms. Once they went to the upper realms, it would be tantamount to starting all over again. Many people no longer had the same fighting spirit, so staying in the lower realms wasn't necessarily a bad choice. Senior brother Wanyan's elder brother should be the previous senior brother of the Penglai Palace, Wanyan Han, right? When Xiren looked at Wanyan Ling, they also knew about Wanyan Han's name. Even though Wanyan Han was no longer here when they came to the Penglai Palace, they could often hear Wanyan Han's name from the cultivators who came here. It was said that this senior brother was a person who valued friendship and loyalty. It was because of this that everyone had a deep impression of him. However, as Wanyan Han's younger brother, Wanyan Ling was also not bad. Both of them had achieved results that ordinary practitioners simply could not achieve in the Penglai Palace. Senior brother, let's set off together then. It's our first time in the upper realm. We can take care of each other if we're together, Xiren said with a smile. Wanyan Ling smiled and nodded. Then I'll have to trouble you. Senior brother, you're too courteous. With your cultivation, I'm afraid you'll have to take care of us. Everyone chuckled as they walked forward. Although everything in the upper realm was unknown to them, they were still filled with hope. Early the next morning, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichan headed to Miss Shi's residence. As soon as the two walked in, Di Xiaofeng noticed them and smiled brightly. Situ, Yishuan, you're here. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded with a smile. They noticed that the doctors outside had already left, and the notice on the door had been taken down at some point. Yishuan, I'm really convinced by your medical skills now. Chapter 4444. With you here, we don't need to look for other doctors. Your medical skills are much better than theirs. Di Xiaofeng's black eyes flashed with surprise and joy. Even though Bailey Hongzhuang had made a solemn vow yesterday, because her performance was too relaxed, he couldn't help but feel a little worried. He didn't expect that when he was still resting this morning, Bailey Yunyan's surprised voice could be heard. Bailey, she had woken up. It was only at that moment that he truly understood that Lan Yishuan's medical skills weren't ordinary. This level of medical skills was definitely at the level of a master. Di Beichan chuckled. I already told you yesterday, but you didn't believe me. My wife's medical skills aren't just for show. When we were in the lower realm, countless people wanted to see my wife, but she didn't have the time. Bailey Hongzhuang turned to look at Di Beichan's proud expression as he introduced her. Her lips curled into a bright smile. Her husband was getting better at praising her. Di Xiaofeng nodded. Yes. I firmly believe in this point now. So many doctors came and discussed the solution, but after so long, they still didn't have a clue. To be honest, Yunyan and I have been thinking of all the solutions we could think of because of this problem. We didn't expect to find a solution so easily. It seems that I really did obtain a fortuitous encounter when I went to the Dark Forest last time. The reason why he went to the Dark Forest was because he heard that there might be some special and precious herbs there that might be helpful for Bailey Shi's illness. But he didn't expect that not only did he not find any herbs, he was even ambushed and almost lost his life. He thought that he had gained nothing, but he didn't expect his savior to be such a skilled doctor. This was really a turn of events. Is Miss Yunyan taking care of Miss Shi inside? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Di Xiaofeng nodded. Although Miss Shi has woken up, her emotions aren't very stable. Yunyan can only watch over her, afraid that she will do something stupid. Bailey Hongzhuang also understood. I'll go in and take a look. Di Xiaofeng was about to follow them in, but was stopped by Bailey Hongzhuang. It's better to let me and Yunyan deal with this kind of thing. You guys should obediently stay outside. Otherwise, you'll only provoke her more. Hearing this, Di Xiaofeng was slightly stunned. After thinking about it carefully, he felt that what Bailey Hongzhuang said was indeed very reasonable. When he turned his head, he found that Di Beichan had been standing in the same place all this time. He had no intention of going in to take a look. Noticing Di Xiaofeng's expression, Di Beichan just spread out his hands. The expression on his face showed that he had already expected this situation. The faint smile between his brows looked like he was mocking Di Xiaofeng. Di Xiaofeng glared at him. This guy had already guessed it, but he didn't tell him, causing him to hit a wall. Knock, knock. Bailey Hongzhuang stood outside the door and knocked. Inside the room. Bailey, she looked outside the room. Her pale face was filled with worry and nervousness. Cousin, don't worry, it should be Missy Schwan. Chapter 44-45. Seeing Bailey she like this, Bailey Yin couldn't help but hug her. I know you're in pain, but you can't give up on life because of this. You just misjudged him. It's him who betrayed you. It's his fault. Why do you have to pay with your life? Bailey Yin's eyes were burning with rage. That heartless man is nothing. He should be the one to suffer, not you. If you lose your life because of him, then it's not worth it. Missy Xian is a good person. If she didn't find a way to wake you up yesterday, I really don't know what you would be like now. Let her in first, okay? Bailey Hongzhuang stood outside the room, vaguely able to hear the conversation inside. She understood Bailey Xi's complex emotions, so she wasn't in a hurry and just waited outside the door. She didn't need to think to know that Bailey Xi's emotions were definitely not calm. If she rashly went in and agitated her, then the gains wouldn't make up for the losses. After a while, Bailey Yin's voice sounded, "Please come in." Only then did Bailey Hongzhuang enter the room. Looking around, she saw Bailey Xi curled up on the bed, her face buried deep. Bailey Yin was sitting next to the bed, her pretty face filled with helplessness and pain. She exchanged a glance with Bailey Yin, then spoke, "Miss Xi, I am Lan Yixian." Bailey Xi, who had her head buried, only made a sound of acknowledgement. Her voice was low and soft, clearly not like she was speaking. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang took a stool and sat down beside the bed. "Miss Xi, I'm a doctor. How about you take out your hand and let me take your pulse?" "Xia." Bailey Xi slowly took out her hand, and Bailey Hongzhuang took the opportunity to take her pulse. "Missy Xian, how is my sister's situation?" "It's about the same as what I said yesterday." Bailey Hongzhuang sighed. Her body is weak, and she hasn't recovered from her previous losses, and now she's immersed in grief all day. If this continues... Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head, and Bailey Yin immediately understood. "Sure, pull yourself together. Don't give up hope because of this." Bailey Yin spoke up. However, Bailey, she only lowered her head and didn't say a word. Clearly her heart was already dead. "Shigunyang, in fact, you didn't do anything wrong. You just trusted the wrong person. It's a pity that you gave up your life because of this." Bailey Hongzhuang slowly said, "I've also encountered a situation like yours." As Bailey Hongzhuang's voice fell, Bailey she raised her head and asked, "Is there anyone else who's been like this?" Seeing Bailey she's eyes suddenly light up, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Yin glanced at each other before continuing. "The world is big, and there are different things happening every moment. Naturally, this kind of thing can't only happen to you." What? Bailey Yin slowly walked out of the room. Di Xiaofeng and Di Beichan saw that Bailey Hongzhuang didn't come out with her, and they were a bit puzzled. Yin, why did you come out by yourself?" Di Xiaofeng asked, puzzled. Bailey Yin smiled. "Missy Schwan is truly a wonderful person. My words are not as effective as hers. Her comforting words are clearly much more effective than mine. I might as well come out and let them have a good chat." Chapter 44-46. It was obviously not a simple thing to let a stranger believe in you, but this situation was not so difficult when it came to Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Yin thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was a stranger to Bailey Xi, but she didn't expect that with just a few words, Bailey Xi would believe her so much. In fact, it wasn't just Bailey Xi, even she had an inexplicable feeling of trust when she saw Bailey Hongzhuang. This was a woman with magical power. Hearing Bailey Yin's words, Di Xiaofeng nodded with a smile. Miss Yi Xian is indeed a good girl. He also had to admit that, in fact, whether it was Bailey Hongzhuang or Di Beichun, they both made him feel very comfortable at first glance and wanted to communicate with them. It seems that this heavy responsibility will be placed on Miss Yi Xian. Di Xiaofeng raised his eyebrows. After seeing Bailey Yin go to the kitchen, he put a hand on Di Beichun's shoulder and teased, "Situ, your eyes are really good. You found such a treasure. Many people praise me." Di Beichun replied, "You really don't know what modesty is." Di Xiaofeng was helpless. He thought that Di Beichun would at least be modest, but he didn't expect him to admit it so calmly. You already know that this is the truth. If I pretend to be modest, wouldn't it be hypocritical? Di Beichun spread his hands. His wife was impeccable. You're good. Bailey Hongzhuang went in for a long time. Even though Bailey Yunyan had already prepared lunch, she still didn't dare to disturb them. It wasn't until a moment later that Bailey Hongzhuang came out. Missy Xian, how is my sister? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Bring the food in for her to eat. She's willing to eat? Bailey Yunyan was surprised. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. She hasn't had a good meal recently. Let her have some porridge first. As for who that man is, since she doesn't want to say it, then don't ask. One day, she will be willing to say it herself. Hearing this, Bailey Yunyan wanted to say something, but hesitated. In the end, she nodded. Okay. She just wanted to know who that irresponsible, heartless man was. That way, she could think of a way to get justice for her little sister. Unfortunately, she wasn't willing to say anything, making her anxious to death. After Bailey Yunyan entered the room, Di Xiaofeng walked over and said, "Why don't you ask who that man is? If it wasn't for that man, Miss Shi wouldn't have fallen to such a state today. Actually, if I think about it carefully, someone who can catch Miss Shi's eye is definitely not from an ordinary family. Moreover, how could an ordinary man dare to let Miss Shi down? This was a great opportunity for him to climb up the social ladder. After eliminating this possibility, there weren't many possibilities left. She doesn't want to say it. On one hand, she feels embarrassed. On the other hand, she might still have a trace of hope for that man." Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was heavy. After talking with Bailey, she felt that this girl was very pure. It was because she didn't know much about the world that she was deceived. She had almost given up everything for this relationship, and this result was really beyond her ability to bear. Chapter 44-47. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Di Xiaofeng had a look of disbelief. I didn't hear wrong, right? That man already treated her like that, and she still has a glimmer of hope? AI, you men might not be able to understand. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed. We all think that man is despicable, and we know that he was lying to her from the beginning. However, that man is the only person she has ever liked. Think about it from her perspective. Lady Shi isn't a bold person, yet she was able to do this for him. It can be seen how deep her feelings for him are. Di Xiaofeng and Di Beichun looked at each other and instantly understood. As expected, a woman could understand a woman's feelings the best. No wonder Bailey Hongzhuang only went in once, and Bailey, she was willing to eat. In comparison, Di Xiaofeng and Bailey Yunyan's persuasion was a bit too extreme. No wonder it didn't have a good effect. Step by step, she won't be able to let go of her heart in a short period of time. However, as long as she doesn't have any thoughts of suicide, she will slowly walk out of it. Di Xiaofeng nodded slightly. You're right. If we keep forcing her like this, it will only make her go into a dead end. Why don't we give her more time and let her slowly think it through? This is a process that requires patience. I can help her heal her body and nurse her back to health. However, she will need to slowly think through this heart of hers. Her clear eyes were filled with concern. She could only do this much, but she believed that Lady Shi would let go of everything sooner or later. When the day comes when Lady Shi is willing to say the other party's name, she would have already let go of it. Not long later, Bailey Yunyan walked out of the room with a look of surprise on her face. Lady Xian, you're really amazing. You only talked to my sister for a short while, and she's already in a much better state. Although it can't be compared to before, her eyes are starting to regain their luster. I'm really grateful to you, Bailey Yunyan said emotionally. You're too polite. We're friends, and I'm happy to be able to help you. Do you think she will still take things too hard? Bailey Yunyan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. She now felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was really a genius doctor. Bailey Hongzhuang thought about it and shook her head. I don't think she will. It's just that she was first betrayed by a heartless man and then expelled by your family. It was a big blow to her. Right now, she really needs company. If you have time, you should spend more time with her. It's good to walk around with her, but don't ask too much about what happened before. She'll naturally tell you when she figures it out. Bailey Yunyan nodded. I understand. I will write a few prescriptions. On the one hand, it will be used to treat her previous weakness. On the other hand, She needs to recuperate. Although this kind of mental illness wasn't a real illness, it still caused a lot of damage to the body. After her body recovers, she won't feel so uncomfortable anymore. Maybe her mood will be better. Then I'm really grateful to you. Bailey Yunyan's eyes blossomed with splendor. She really didn't expect the heavens to send such a helper. If Bailey Hongzhuang didn't appear, they really wouldn't know what to do now. Chapter 44-48. After dealing with the problem, Bailey Hongzhuang and Deep Beichun didn't stay in the courtyard for long. They had done everything they could. This kind of problem couldn't be completely solved in a short time. After all, they were outsiders. It was fine to stay here. It would be more comfortable to stay in the restaurant. Then you guys can rest in the elegant sky residence. If there's anything, come find me directly. Di Xiaofeng urged. Don't worry, we'll be fine. After walking out of the courtyard, Bailey Hongzhuang and Deep Beichun didn't plan to go anywhere else. They went straight to the elegant sky residence. Ever since the incident in the demonic dragon abyss, we spent most of our time healing and didn't cultivate properly. Let's take advantage of this time to break through and increase our cultivation. Bailey Hongzhuang turned to look at Di Beichun. Last time, in front of the four assassins, they didn't have the power to fight back. It was obvious how powerful their opponents were. Since they were still alive, once the other party knew about this, they might come looking for trouble. Moreover, they had already made up their mind to take revenge. Therefore, increasing their strength was the most important thing now. Deep Beichun's eyes darkened. That's right. Let's go into closed-door cultivation after we go back. Strength was the foundation of everything. If they didn't have enough strength, even if they found an opponent, it would be very difficult to take revenge. Serene and the others were very fast. Last time, he and Shangwan Yingying saw the other party leave with their own eyes. They had already memorized the entrance to the upper realm clearly. During this period of time, they had been hoping to enter the upper realm as soon as possible. This time, they really could go. Their speed was extremely fast. The five of them smoothly passed through the skeletons and arrived at the entrance to the upper realm. Standing in front of the entrance, the five of them looked at each other. Then, they smiled at each other and walked in together. The world spun. When they saw everything in front of them again, they were already in another place. Looking at the entrance behind them and the completely different scene in front of them, they knew that they had successfully reached the upper realm. This is the upper realm. Shangwan Yingying's eyes sparkled with excitement. It's quite fast. The teleportation array is really useful. When Serene and the rest had faint smiles on their faces, they had finally arrived at the place they had been waiting for. Ao Lingxiao looked at everything in front of him. His gaze was deep and complicated. Back then, he'd been forced to leave the upper realm and hide in the lower realm. Yet now, he'd finally returned. After such a long time, he didn't know what had happened to his family. However, he would definitely find a way to reveal the truth to the world. His hands under his sleeves gradually clenched into fists. The enormous strength caused his knuckles to turn white, but it was still not enough to express the hatred in his heart. Let's go out, Mo Yunjue reminded everyone. Hearing this, Ao Lingxiao and the others recovered from their thoughts and walked out together. Walking on the bustling street, everyone looked at the bustling scene and felt joy in their hearts. Chapter 44-49. When Serene, Mo Yunjue, and Wan Yinling were also observing their surroundings. However, what they noticed more was that the auras of the people around them were extremely powerful. It was impossible to see such a scene in the lower realm. The situation was just as Ao Lingxiao had said. The cultivators in the upper realm were generally very powerful. With their strength, they could do whatever they wanted in the lower realm. However, they were just ordinary people here. I noticed a few very powerful auras just now. The cultivators here really can't be underestimated, Mo Yunjue said slowly. Zyra nodded slightly. We still have to keep a low profile. Don't offend people casually. Otherwise, once we get into trouble, it'll be really bad. Hearing you guys talk like this, I'm a little worried. Previously, when Hongzhuang and Beichun came to the upper realm, it was just the two of them. It was quite dangerous, Shangwan Yingying said emotionally. Beichun and Hongzhuang are both smart people. They definitely have the ability to protect themselves. Xiren patted Shangwan Yingying's shoulder. His cultured and elegant face was filled with relief. You're right. Hong Zhuang and Beichen are both very resourceful. When we first arrived at Penglai Island, if it wasn't for the two of them, it would have been very difficult for us to escape. Even though quite some time had passed, she could still remember everything clearly until now. At that time, she thought that they wouldn't be able to escape the heaven-shaking faction's pursuit. However, she never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beiqian would be able to turn the tables on them. This is Watercloud City. After A.O. Lingxiao asked a few questions, he already knew where they were. Coming from the lower realm to the upper realm is a random teleportation. There are a total of 8 cities. Junior Brother D and the others could have arrived at any one of these 8 cities. However, they should be at the D family now. Let's stay here for today. Everyone can also look around and familiarize themselves with the environment of the upper realm. When Xiren and the others nodded, their goal in coming to the upper realm was to meet up with Di Beichin and the others as soon as possible. Junior Brother Ao, can you tell me a total of 8 cities? I'm going to find my brother. Currently, I don't know which city he is in. I might have to go to a few more places, Wanyan Ling said with a smile. Hearing this, Ao Lingxiao reacted and hurriedly said, no problem. These 8 cities are Watercloud City, Rowan City. Since Senior Apprentice Brother Wanyan wants to gather information, why don't we gather some information in Watercloud City first? Maybe we're lucky and eldest Senior Brother is here? Shang Waningying raised her eyebrows slightly. Although she often heard about Wanyan Han, she had never seen him before. If she could see eldest Senior Brother's heroic figure before she left, it would be pretty good. No need. Wanyan Ling smiled and waved his hand. You must be tired from rushing all the way here. Let's find a place to rest first. Senior Apprentice Brother Wanyan, we're from the same sect. Naturally, we should take care of each other when we're outside. You don't have to be so polite. When Xiren laughed and said, actually, we're not tired yet, right? Mo Yunjue and Ao Lingxiao both nodded. If it was in the past, it might have been a bit tiring for them to pass through the training grounds. However, it was much easier now. That's right. Let's gather information together. We can also find out if Beichin and the others were here before. Chapter 4450. For a moment, the 5 of them began to ask around. However, the final result disappointed them. Looks like we're not that lucky. They're not in Watercloud City, Mo Yunjue said in a low voice, a complicated look in his deep eyes. Shangwan Yingying sighed. 1 in 8 chance. It's really hard to be so coincidental, but it doesn't matter. We'll find them eventually. Let's not be discouraged. Since no one knows about this place, we'll go somewhere else to ask around, Xiren said. Everyone nodded. How easy would it be to find a few people in the upper realm? Before they came, Wanyan Ling should have been prepared to spend time looking for them. Everyone asked around as they walked forward. When they passed by a restaurant, Shangwan Ying stopped in her tracks. A guilty smile appeared on her delicate and beautiful face. Are you guys hungry? As soon as she said that, everyone smiled knowingly. I think you're just hungry because you smelled the aroma coming from inside, right? Xiren looked at Shangwan Yingying dotingly. They had been eating dry rations for the past few days. With Shangwan Yingying's personality, she must want to try the dishes of the upper realm. Shangwan Yingying chuckled. We haven't tried the food of the upper realm before. It's time to eat. Let's go in and fill our stomachs first. Her gaze swept over Mo Yunjue and the others. When she saw that no one had any objections, her eyes lit up. I saw many restaurants along the way, but this one has the best business. The aroma coming from it is the most fragrant. I've never seen you observe so carefully. Your observation skills are unparalleled. Xiren laughed involuntarily. Shangwan Yingying shook her head proudly. This is also a kind of ability. Look at the name, Elegant Heaven Residence. It looks pretty good. Since Ying is hungry, let's go in, Mo Yunjue said slowly. It's getting late. It's time to eat. As they chatted, the 5 of them walked into Elegant Heaven Residence. As soon as they entered the restaurant, the 5 of them could already feel the liveliness inside. Fortunately, there's a table inside. If we came a little later, we wouldn't have anything to eat. After sitting down, Shangwan Ing immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Don't worry. If you want to eat it, you could just come back after you miss the most time, Oh Ling Xiao said. As they chatted and laughed, they inadvertently began to size up the people around them. However, when Mo Yue's gaze swept across the people at the table beside him, his gaze quietly deepened. Noticing the change in Mo Yunjue's expression, Xiren couldn't help but ask, Yunjue, what's wrong with you? Why do you have such an expression? The people at the table next door are the same people we saw when we first came out of the entrance. They're looking at us suspiciously. Something feels wrong. Hearing that, Xiren also quietly looked at them. Although he didn't know Mo Yunjue for long, he knew that Mo Yunjue was a very powerful person. His eyesight was also very accurate. Looking at them, he also felt that something was wrong. You're right. They keep looking at us. What are they trying to do? Xiren frowned. The other party's gaze was obviously not friendly. However, they didn't know each other, and he didn't know what they were trying to do. Chapter 44:51. I didn't expect you newbies to be so rich. You actually came to the best restaurant in Watercloud City to eat. Since that's the case, why don't you hand over the money and let me, your big brother, live freely? The man's face was filled with a sinister smile. The threat between his brows could not be more obvious. The mockery in his eyes clearly indicated that he was certain that they would not dare to resist. Hearing the man's words, the faces of Mo Yunjue and the others immediately turned cold. They had long guessed that the other party was up to no good, but they did not expect him to have such thoughts. Why should we give it to you? Shangwan Yingying said coldly. Hearing this, the man's gaze fell on Shangwan Yingying. Little girl, I advise you to obediently hand over the spirit stones now. Otherwise, it won't be so easy to solve this problem later. As he spoke, the man gestured behind him. The three men behind him also had provocative looks on their faces. You're just rookies who just came from the lower realm. In the upper realm, it's best for you to be obedient. Otherwise, if we're in a bad mood and kill you, it won't be worth it for you. His joking words were filled with mockery and threats. The man sat down next to Mo Yunjue without any scruples. Hurry up, don't waste my time. The faces of Xiren and the others immediately turned extremely ugly. They did not expect to encounter such a problem as soon as they arrived in the upper realm. If the other party had fewer people, they might have been able to put up a fight. However, the other party had many people, so this was a little troublesome. However, it was absolutely impossible for them to hand over the spirit stones just like that. Take your hand off my shoulder. Mo Yunjue's voice was cold, and his deep eyes contained a hidden sharpness. The man chuckled and looked at Mo Yunjue disdainfully. I hate Xiao Bai faces like you the most. I won't let go. What can you do about it? Mo Yunjue's appearance had always been extremely outstanding. In fact, from the moment he walked into the restaurant, many people had already noticed him. Such a handsome man, coupled with his cold and arrogant temperament, was exceptionally charming. However, in the eyes of the man, he was extremely displeased. The moment the man finished speaking, Mo Yunjue grabbed his hand and placed it on the table. At the same time, his other hand took out a pair of chopsticks from the bamboo tube and stabbed them without hesitation. His movements were as fast as lightning, and it was done in one breath. Almost everyone present could not react in time. Ah! The man screamed as the chopsticks pierced through his palm, causing blood to flow out. Hearing the man's screams, his friends came over one after another. The man's eyes were burning with rage. He wanted nothing more than to tear Mo Yunjue to shreds. Brat, you're courting death. However, Mo Yunjue was still as cold as ever. Since you have nowhere to put your hands, I'll help you solve it. Isn't that great? When everyone in the Elegant Sky residence saw this scene, they couldn't help but reveal astonished expressions. No one would have thought that this refined and handsome man would be so swift and decisive when he made his move. His movements were fast, and his methods were ruthless. They couldn't help but look at him in a new light. Mother Kerr, kill them. The man shouted angrily. The other three men's auras instantly exploded. Two of them were Astral Rays Level 2, and one was Astral Rays Level 3. Seeing this, Mo Yunjue and the rest did not back down. Their auras were not any weaker than the other parties. Chapter 4452. When Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichan returned to the elegant Sky residence, they found that there was a conflict inside. They couldn't help but be surprised. The elegant Sky residence was the largest restaurant in Watercloud City. They didn't expect that someone would be so insensible as to start a fight here. However, when they heard that familiar voice, both of them were stunned. They looked in the direction of the source of the voice in disbelief. "Kill them. I want them all to die here." The man looked at his hand that had been pierced by the bamboo chopsticks. Murderous intent boiled in his heart. He didn't expect that a few newcomers from the lower realm would dare to attack him like this. They were simply digging their own graves. In the past, when he encountered cultivators from the upper realm, the other party usually didn't dare to say a word when they tried to rob them. Who would have thought that he would encounter such an exception this time? However, just as he was thinking about how to make them beg for mercy later, a hand had already grabbed his neck and lifted him up. "Who dares to attack me?" The deep and magnetic voice was filled with anger and threat. It was also filled with arrogance. The man couldn't help but be stunned by the sudden turn of events. He stared at the man in front of him with wide eyes. He didn't understand what this had to do with him. Why did this strange guy suddenly appear out of nowhere? What does it have to do with you that I'm teaching someone a lesson? The three men who were about to attack realized that their friend had been restrained. Their expressions changed immediately. They quickly turned to Di Beichan and Bailey Hongzhuang and said, "Put him down." When Xiren and the others obviously did not expect that there would be people helping them in this unfamiliar place, Watercloud City. At first glance, it was obvious that these two people were strangers. However, after noticing that familiar gaze, Xiren and Shangwan Yingying recognized him almost immediately. Di Beichan. They grew up with Di Beichan since they were young. They couldn't be more familiar with him. Even if his appearance was different, they could still recognize him at first glance. They knew how powerful Bailey Hongzhuang's disguise was. Therefore, they could understand the changes on their faces. Mo Yunjua looked at the delicate and pretty woman in front of him. It was a pair of completely unfamiliar faces, but he still recognized her at first glance. Bailey Hongzhuang. Other than Bailey Hongzhuang, there was no one else in that pair of sparkling and translucent eyes. For a moment, when Xiren, Shangwan Yingying, and Mo Yunjua were all pleasantly surprised. They had originally thought that they would only be able to see Di Beichan and the others after going to the Di family. They had never thought that they would meet them on their first day in the upper realm. How could they not be pleasantly surprised? However, while Xiren and the others were extremely pleasantly surprised, Ao Lingxiao and Wan Yinling were looking at the man and woman who had appeared in front of them in confusion. Could it be that they had met someone who had acted bravely for a just cause? There were so many people in the restaurant, but no one had come out to help. They hadn't expected that these two people, who had just arrived at the restaurant, would be willing to help. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichan stared at Xiren and the others. Their eyes met, and they were filled with excitement. "You're not letting go, are you?" The other man looked angry. "You're courting death." They had thought that the matter could be resolved with just a few words. They hadn't thought that it would end up like this. The most despicable thing was that the other party actually had helpers. Chapter 4453. Clang. The man was sent flying by Di Beichan's kick. He fell to the ground and smashed into the table next door, drenching his body with vegetable soup. The colorful soup drenched his hair, and his clothes were in a mess. A piece of vegetable was hanging on his head, making him look extremely miserable. The man quickly got up from the ground and wiped the vegetable soup off his face so that his vision would not be so blurry. However, when he looked at Di Beichan again, he was no longer as arrogant as before. This was because when Di Beichan made his move, he could clearly feel that his opponent was not weak. At the very least, he was stronger than him. The guests at the other table could only stand up and walk to the other side because of the man's sudden appearance. There was some dissatisfaction on their faces. For a moment, the other two cultivators did not dare to make a move because Di Beichan already had a hostage in his hands. From the man's cold and murderous gaze, they were sure that if they made a move again, this man would not hesitate to break the hostage's neck. "Let him go quickly." The two men looked at each other and hurriedly said. However, Di Baichen's expression was still cold and indifferent. He only stared expressionlessly at the struggling man who was being choked by his neck. I won't let him go. What can you do? You. The man was speechless for a moment. His eyes were filled with anger, but he did not know what to say. After seeing such a big commotion, the shopkeeper hurriedly rushed over. When he saw that it was Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen, a smile immediately appeared on his face. So it's Sir Situ and Miss Lawn. If you have something to say, let's talk nicely. Can we not make a move first? The shopkeeper's face was filled with a warm smile, like a spring breeze. Even though many of his things had been destroyed, it did not dampen his enthusiasm. Hearing this, Di Baichen glanced at the shopkeeper and then at the other three men. He immediately understood. Sir Situ, I guarantee that they won't dare to make a move again. I will give you a satisfactory explanation. The shopkeeper's sharp eyes swept over them, and the arrogance of the three men was immediately extinguished. Seeing this, Di Baichen let go of his hand. As far as he knew, Di Xiaofeng was very familiar with the shopkeeper of the Elegant Sky residence. Therefore, after the shopkeeper appeared, they still had to give the shopkeeper some face. After Di Baichen loosened his grip, the guy whose face had turned purple gasped for air. You guys dare to cause trouble in my Elegant Sky residence today. I think you guys are really bold. The shopkeeper's eyes were sharp and angry, like a sharp knife, making people not dare to look at him directly. The four men immediately smiled in embarrassment. Shopkeeper, we didn't do it on purpose. Not on purpose? The shopkeeper snorted coldly, obviously not buying it. You were the one who started the conflict, and now you're saying that you didn't do it on purpose? Who would believe you? At the same time, Xiren and the others could not help but look at each other. They were not stupid people. When the conflict broke out earlier, the shopkeeper did not appear at all. The only reason he appeared now was because of Di Baichen and Bailey Hongzhuang. If they had not come, even if they died here, the shopkeeper might not have appeared. It seemed that Di Baichen and Bailey Hongzhuang were living quite well in Watercloud City. Why aren't you apologizing immediately? The shopkeeper said coldly. Chapter 4454. Seeing the four men standing there unwillingly, the shopkeeper's expression turned cold. I think you don't want to stay in Watercloud City any longer. As soon as he said that, the four men's expressions changed. They hurriedly said, Shopkeeper, that's not what we meant. Then apologize quickly. The shopkeeper shouted angrily. If you can't appease young Master Situ and Miss Lawn, don't even think about leaving this place. The four men's legs trembled. The unwillingness and anger on their faces disappeared. They hurriedly apologized. Young Master Situ, Miss Lawn, we didn't know they were your friends. Please forgive us and let us go. If we knew they were your friends, we wouldn't have dared to do this even if we had 100 guts. Di Baichen's expression was cold. They're the ones you need to apologize to. Hearing that, the four men looked at Xiren and the others with complicated expressions. They were so depressed that they were about to die. They thought these newcomers were pushovers. They didn't expect them to have helpers in the upper realm. The shopkeeper of the Elegant Sky residence thought so highly of them. They had really misjudged this time. They went for wool and came home shorn. They were completely screwed today. We're sorry, the four men said in unison. We were wrong before. Please forgive us. Please be magnanimous and let us go. After seeing this scene, the cultivators in the lobby couldn't help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen. They secretly wondered who these two people were. The Elegant Sky residence has a powerful background. Ordinary people wouldn't dare to cause trouble here. The shopkeeper has always ignored these things. I didn't expect him to step in today for these two people's sake. It seems these two people's identities aren't simple. These two people look very unfamiliar. I've never seen them before in Watercloud City. Could it be that their identities aren't simple? No, these two people are young Master D's friends. I see. Everyone looked at each other. For a moment, many people began to become interested in Di Baichen and Bailey Hongzhuang. Although the Elegant Heaven residence was only a restaurant, to be able to achieve such success in Watercloud City, it naturally had a force supporting it. A trace of disdain appeared in the eyes of Wenziren and the others when they saw the four of them bowing their heads and apologizing like frosted eggplants. Thinking back to how arrogant they were before, it was really ironic. Weren't you all very arrogant before? I didn't expect it to become like this in the blink of an eye. What a joke. Shangwan Yingying sneered. If it weren't for Di Beichen's coincidental appearance, it would have been very troublesome. Yes, it's all our fault. We're just a joke. Just treat it as a joke and forget about us. The four men nodded like chickens pecking at rice. No matter what the other party said, they only had one attitude, and that was to admit their mistakes. Otherwise, if they didn't doubt the shopkeeper's words, they might not be able to walk out of Elegant Sky Residence today. Looking at the other party's cowardly appearance, everyone was too lazy to talk nonsense with them. Just based on their current state, they probably wouldn't have the guts to cause trouble for them again. Scram! As Di Beichen's cold voice fell, the four men immediately scrambled out of the Elegant Sky Residence, as if they had been pardoned. Chapter 4455. Shopkeeper, you're too polite. We should be the ones thanking you. Di Beichen cupped his hands. After all, this was the Elegant Sky Residence's territory. If they killed those annoying fellows here, it would have a negative impact on the place. You're young Masterdy's friends, so of course I have to treat you well. However, I didn't expect something like this to happen. It's my fault for not treating you well. These are your friends, right? I'll immediately send someone to prepare a room for them. They can stay here for the next few days. Everything will be waived. Consider my apology. Shopkeeper, there's no need for that. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but speak up. The shopkeeper waved his hand. It's my duty. Please don't refuse. Seeing this, although Bailey Hongzhuang and Wen Xinyao were a little helpless, they had no choice but to agree. After the shopkeeper left, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other and smiled. Even if something like that happened just now, it still didn't affect their joy of reuniting. Immediately, everyone walked into the room under Di Beichen's lead. They really had too much to say. As soon as the door closed, Shangwan Yingying excitedly ran in front of Bailey Hongzhuang and grabbed her hands. Her crystal clear and bright eyes flashed with joy. That's great. Hongzhuang, I finally see you again. Bailey Hongzhuang was also very surprised. Yes, I didn't expect to meet you here. When did you come to the Upper Realm? We just arrived today. When we passed by, we felt hungry, so we walked in to eat. We didn't expect to encounter something like this. Shangwan Yingying pursed her lips. At first, I thought that it was very unlucky to encounter something like this. However, if this didn't happen, we might have missed each other. I'm so happy now. Ziren looked at Di Beichen. The two of them hammered each other's shoulders with smiles on their handsome faces. You brat, we finally meet again. Seeing you like this, I'm relieved. After exchanging a few words with Shangwan Yingying, Bailey Hongzhuang turned to Mo Yunjue, who was looking at them from the side. Her beautiful face was filled with a bright smile, and her eyes were bright and resplendent. Welcome to the Upper Realm. Mo Yunjue chuckled. It seems that our luck is good. I didn't know when I would find you. I didn't expect to meet you on the first day. Heaven's arrangement. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. It's good to see you again. Originally, Ao Ling Xiao and Wanyan Ling didn't understand what was going on. They also didn't understand why when Ziren and the others, who had never been to the Upper Realm, would have helpers. However, after listening to their conversation, they immediately understood. Their eyes were filled with shock. And Junior S. And Junior. And you. And Junior. And Ao. Ao Ling Xiao looked at them in astonishment. No wonder he felt that they looked a little familiar, but he couldn't figure out who they were. Now that the other party had revealed their identities, he finally understood. It was really a pleasant surprise. Di Beichen nodded and smiled faintly. Long time no see. Wen Xinyao was the most unfamiliar with everyone. However, at this moment, he was very happy. Meeting fellow disciples in the Upper Realm was no different from family. Senior Brother Ling, I didn't expect you to come too. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Wen Xinyao with a smile. Chapter 4456. Wanyan Ling smiled and nodded. That's right. It just so happened that Junior Brother Mo and the others were coming to the Upper Realm, so I came with them. I see. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun looked at each other and smiled. Wang Yanhan had always been worried about his younger brother, looking forward to when Wang Yanling would come to the upper realm. They didn't expect to meet everyone when they came to Water Cloud City this time. Wang Yanhan and Wang Yanling would be reunited soon. Just as they were about to talk about Wang Yanhan, there was a knock on the door. Di Beichun opened the door and saw a waiter walking over with wine and dishes. The shopkeeper said that those guys just now ruined your lunch, so he made new dishes and sent them over. I hope you'll enjoy them. The shopkeeper is too courteous. Please thank him for me. The waiter left after putting down the dishes. Looking at the dishes on the table, they were much more sumptuous than what they had ordered before. Di Beichun, this shopkeeper is really courteous to you. From his performance just now, I feel that this restaurant is not simple. Those guys were originally quite arrogant, but as soon as the shopkeeper appeared and said nothing, they were already terrified. It seems that you're doing quite well in Water Cloud City. Xiren raised his eyebrows, his eyes full of ridicule and interest. We only saved one person. The shopkeeper was only like this because of the other party. Saved one person? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Actually, we've only been in Water Cloud City for a few days. On the way here, we saw someone injured, so we helped. The other party is also a good person. His name is Di Xiaofeng. If he comes later, you'll see him. No wonder. Shangwan Ying understood. I heard the shopkeeper mention Di Xiaofeng just now, but this is really interesting. His surname is also Di. Di Beichun chuckled. Not only that, the woman he likes is called Bailey Yunyan. Her surname is also Bailey. Xiren and the others were stunned. Such a coincidence? That's right. From the looks of it, you two are really fated. After the joy of reuniting, Xiren couldn't help but frown. There was confusion between his brows. Beichun, you've been in the upper realm for a period of time. Why are you here instead of going to the D clan? Mo Yunjue and Ao Lingxiao both stared at Di Beichun. Regarding this point, they also felt very confused. We originally planned to go, but the upper realm is very big. Ordinary cultivators can't come into contact with that kind of existence. We asked many people, but none of them knew where the D family was. Therefore, we could only give up. We've been thinking about when we'd be able to meet up with you. Now that Ao Lingxiao is here, we can come out together. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up. Ao Lingxiao, knowing the location of the Supreme D clan, was undoubtedly a piece of good news to them. However, after everyone heard Bailey Hongzhuang's words, they couldn't help but be stunned. You can't find the Supreme D clan? Mo Yunjue frowned. Shouldn't it be the Supreme D clan looking for you? At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun couldn't help but be stunned. They didn't understand what the other party meant. Why would the Supreme D clan look for us? Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and Ao Lingxiao's serious expression, everyone understood that they probably didn't know what was going on. Chapter 4457. Looking at Shangwan Yingying's matter-of-fact manner when she said those words, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun both frowned as several thoughts appeared in their minds. What do you mean? Seems like the D family's people haven't found you yet. Shangwan Yingying sighed. Beichun, we have already confirmed that you are the young master of the D family. Moreover, you definitely wouldn't have thought that Di Yujue whom you saw before was actually your father. Following Shangwan Yingying's words, Di Beichun and Bailey Hongzhuang were both stunned as a look of astonishment appeared on their faces. What did you say? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were filled with disbelief. This news was simply too unbelievable. Di Yujue was actually Beichun's father? It's true, Shangwan Ying emphasized seriously. Previously, when we returned to Panlai Palace, Uncle Di had been waiting for us to come out. Afterwards, when he found out that you were in danger, he immediately rushed over with us. However, we didn't expect that in the end. We were still a bit late. When we arrived, we only saw Beichun's back. He had already arrived at the upper realm. Therefore, Uncle Di also immediately came to the upper realm. With the Di family strength, we felt that we should be able to find you very quickly. Xiren also said, we originally thought that when we came to the upper realm, we would only be able to see you after we arrived at the D family. Who would have thought that we would be able to see you as soon as we arrived here? It's really surprising. Now we finally understand why Bei-chen acted so strangely when he first met Uncle D. I think this must be due to familial affection. If not, Bei-chen definitely wouldn't be so close to someone he had never met before. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Bei-chen listened to everyone's narration. Only then did they understand what had happened. However, when they came to the upper realm, they actually didn't know anything. Previously, when Uncle D left Penglai Island, he went to Tiangang Sect. After confirming your identity at Tiangang Sect, he immediately returned to Penglai Island to look for you. I just didn't expect to miss it so coincidentally, and we also received a letter from Sect Master Sidhu. As he spoke, Xiren took out the letter from his Chinquan bag. He had kept the letter with him all this time. If it weren't for the fact that Bei-chen and the others weren't around, he wouldn't have opened it himself. After Di Bei-chen took the letter and skimmed through its contents, his expression suddenly became complicated. He never thought that it would turn out like this. From the first time he saw Di Yujue, he had a very strange feeling. No one had ever made him feel so familiar. However, he could never imagine that Di Yujue was actually his father. After Di Bei-chen finished reading the contents of the letter, Bailey Hongzhuang took the letter. After she finished reading the contents of the letter, her heart was also filled with shock. However, since even her grandfather had confirmed this news, it seemed like it was the truth. Xiren and the others looked at Di Bei-chen's expression. They knew that this news must be hard for him to accept for a while. In fact, when they first heard this news, they also felt that it was unbelievable. Chapter 4458. After everyone left, only Di Bei-chen and Bailey Hongzhuang were left in the room. Bailey Hongzhuang sized up Di Bei-chen. Ever since he knew about this, Di Bei-chen's expression had been so complicated. She didn't know what Bei-chen was thinking. Bei-chen, since grandfather and the others have confirmed this news, it shouldn't be wrong. Di Bei-chen nodded slightly. He also knew that this news couldn't be wrong. However, he had always guessed what kind of person his father was. When he found out, he still felt complicated. Perhaps it was because he hadn't imagined his father's real appearance for so many years. When this appearance became clear, he actually had an indescribably complicated feeling. When you found out about this, did you have an indescribable feeling? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Her eyes sparkled as she stared at Di Bei-chen. When I found out that my biological parents were someone else, my thoughts were also very complicated. However, what we know now is that they haven't given up on looking for you all these years, right? To them, this was already the best news. Di Bei-chen nodded slightly. He still remembered that when he was chatting with Di Yujue said that he was looking for someone very important to him. All these years, he had been looking for that person, but there was no news at all. At that time, he even comforted Di Yujue that he would definitely find that person. However, he never thought that the person that Di Yujue was talking about would actually be him. A.O. Lingxiao's judgment was really right. You're actually the young master of the Di family who was left behind. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Bailey Hongzhuang saw that Di Bei-chen was still immersed in his own thoughts and didn't say anything else. He needed some time to think things through. The next day, Bailey Hongzhuang woke up and found Di Bei-chen still sitting at the table. Obviously, he hadn't slept the whole night. Bei-chen, are you still thinking about this? Bailey Hongzhuang walked to Di Bei-chen's side and sat down. She poured a cup of tea and handed it to Di Bei-chen. Di Bei-chen took the tea and a smile appeared on his handsome face. Did you sleep well? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, but her gaze was fixed on him. Obviously, she was waiting for his answer. My wife, I suddenly thought of a problem. Di Bei-chen's voice was deep and his expression was serious. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang also became serious and asked, what problem? According to what Xiren said, with the Di family's ability in the upper realm, it would be very easy for them to find us. Moreover, when we were in Rome City, we didn't disguise ourselves, nor did we conceal our identities. According to that situation, they would only need to ask around a little to know where we are. However, why haven't they found us yet? His deep, dark eyes rippled with the light of wisdom. Last night, he was in a complicated mood, but when he came out of it, he found some problems. Hearing Di Bei-chen's words, Bailey Hongzhuang thought for a moment and understood what he meant. You mean the people who chased after us before? Di Bachin nodded slightly. They are too strong. Chapter 4459. Back then, the assassins had appeared out of nowhere, and from the beginning to the end, they hadn't said who had sent them. Previously, they had always thought that it was either the Shao family or Gong Tianfeng who had sent them, because apart from these two possibilities, they could not think of any other possibilities. But now, after knowing the news, they thought of another possibility. Since Diyu Jue had been looking for Di Beichen for so many years, his family must have been looking forward to his return. Logically speaking, it was impossible that they could not find him for so long. Therefore, the reason why they had not been nervous for so long was that someone must have been behind it. There are two possibilities. The first one is that the Di family's opponents got the news, and they don't want me to go back, so they attacked me before the Di family. As for the second possibility, it is that someone in the Di family doesn't want me to go back. Di Beichan said in a low voice. The Di family had not heard any news about him for so many years, until Di Yujue confirmed his identity. Thinking about it, Di Yujue must have only told the core members of the Di family before finding him. Under such circumstances, there was still someone who took the initiative to kill them. The situation could be imagined. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. She had also thought of this possibility, but she was not willing to believe it. But in fact, this was not out of her expectations. Actually, you have been away for so many years. With such a big family like the Di family, there must be someone who wants to replace your identity. As long as you don't go back, he can use your resources. But once you go back, his interests will be affected, so this situation is not unexpected. They had already thought about this when they wanted to go to the Di family to confirm this problem. Indeed, Di Beichun said in a heavy voice, it seems that it is not easy to go back. Bailey Hongzhuang held Di Beichun's hand, and her bright eyes were shining with determination and certainty. Beichun, since we have confirmed your identity, even if the way back is difficult, we will still go back. Your parents have been looking forward to your return all these years. We don't care what others think, but we can't let them down. She knew that resources and interests were not what Beichun cared about. What he cared about most was his family. As long as his family was looking forward to his return, then he should go back. Looking at the smile on Bailey Hongzhuang's face, Di Beichun's cold heart was instantly warmed, and the cold corners of his mouth were gradually dyed with a smile. You are right. We should go back. When Bailey Hongzhuang and Shangguan Ru walked out of the house, they found that Xiren and the others were having breakfast in the hall. Seeing the two of them, Xiren waved his hand here. The two of them immediately walked to them and sat down. You have already come to eat, but you didn't call us. Xiren said that you might not be able to digest this news in a short time, so he asked you to have a good rest. We are going to send breakfast to your room later, Shangguan Yingying said. Do I look like I can't take it? Di Beichun raised his eyebrows and said. Chapter 4460. Ao Ling Xiao, do you know anything about the Di family? Di Beichun turned his gaze towards Ao Ling Xiao. Currently, they didn't have any way to understand the Di family situation. The only person who might know something was Ao Ling Xiao. I only know a little bit of information. Moreover, I have been in the lower realm for quite some time now. I don't know much about the current situation. Ao Ling Xiao shook his head, looking somewhat helpless. Then why don't you tell us what you know about the situation in the past? At least we can understand a little more, when Xiren said. All right, Ao Ling Xiao nodded. According to what I know, Diyu Jue was supposed to be the next head of the Di family. However, because the young master of the Di family disappeared, the old man didn't pass the position to Diyu Jue all these years. Even so, everyone knows that the position of the next head of the family will fall on Diyu Jue sooner or later. It's just that the old man of the Di family was too angry, so he chose to do this. So, the people of the Di family hope that Beichun will go back. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. At least Diyu Jue and the old man of the Di family really hoped that Di Beichun would go back. With these two people, once Di Beichun went back, the situation wouldn't be too bad. Ao Ling Xiao nodded. Beichun is the second young master of the Di family. His status is very high. The old man of the Di family would naturally hope that he will go back. Second young master? Di Beichun's eyes narrowed. Then who is the eldest young master? Actually, I don't know much about this eldest young master. Ever since you disappeared, the D family has been very secretive about the news of their direct descendants. So much so that we don't know much about it. However, this young master is your eldest brother. It is said that he is also a proud son of heaven. As he spoke, Ao Lingxiao shrugged. In fact, with the Supreme Family's nurturing, as long as one's talent isn't too bad, he will definitely be nurtured into a genius. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone sighed with emotion. Indeed, with such a huge background, even if they used a pile of spiritual herbs, they would be able to produce a genius. Would the young master of the D family not want Beichen to go back? Mo Yunjue asked in a deep voice. In aristocratic families, there were often many shameful things behind this kind of power struggle. Ao Lingxiao shook his head. I don't think so. This young master is Beichen's brother, and he was so young when Beichen went missing. How could he have done anything to him? What you said makes sense. Zyra nodded. In that case, it should be someone else who did it. Right now, we can't rule out any possibilities. Anyway, before Beichen goes back, we have to be extra careful. No one knows if there will be any unknown dangers. Mo Yunjue's expression was serious. From the fact that the Supreme Family still couldn't find D. Beichen after so long, he had already sent some clues. That's right, we still have to be extra careful. As for the specific situation, we will know when Beichen goes to the Supreme Family. Zyron looked at D. Beichen. When do you plan to go to the D family? No hurry. No hurry. Shangwan Yingying was surprised. Don't you want to go back and take a look? To be honest, when we were in Rome and City, we were chased and almost lost our lives. Chapter 4461. If it weren't for the appearance of the skeleton army, we wouldn't be in this world anymore. Even though it had been a few days, Bailey Hongzhuang still felt a lingering fear whenever she recalled that scene. Their lives were hanging by a thread. That was a real life hanging by a thread. If it weren't for luck on their side, they would have been finished. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Zyron and the others looked at each other. Even though they hadn't personally experienced the previous scene, they could tell how dangerous the situation was from Bailey Hongzhuang's description. Indeed, if the aristocratic families of the upper world wanted to deal with them, with their current strength, they would have escaped death. So what are your plans now? Zyron looked at D. Beichen, his gentle face full of worry and concern. I plan to go back to Rome and City first to make sure that it has nothing to do with the people there. If that's the case, then we can confirm the general result. D. Beichen said in a deep voice. That's fine. Anyway, now that we know your identity, it's only a matter of time before you go back to the D family. And Mo Yunjue also said, this time, the D family hasn't been able to find you for such a long time. It's obvious that someone is obstructing the process. The other party can't hold back, so Uncle D can't possibly not know that someone is obstructing him. I'm sure that he has already started to investigate this matter. D. Beichen, it's not a bad idea to go back for the time being. Otherwise, once you go back, you'll be in an unfamiliar environment. The other party is in the dark while we are in the light. It's always more dangerous. That's right. To be on the safe side, it's better for us to increase our strength a little. Ao Lingxiao nodded. Although it was impossible for them to face a colossus like the D family with their current strength, at least they could protect themselves in the face of assassination. Wang Yinling listened to everyone's conversation, and his expression was extremely complicated. He really didn't expect D. Beichen to have such a shocking background. He also didn't expect that there would be so many dangers after this. Junior Brother D, from what you've told me, I feel that your trip this time is really very dangerous. If you need help, I'll go with you first and then look for my big brother. Wang Yinling was also conflicted. However, he had a good impression of D. Beichen's group. Now that they were in danger, how could he leave by himself? Following Wang Yinling's words, everyone could not help but feel surprised. In reality, they weren't very familiar with Wang Yinling. They didn't evade him because they believed in his personality. However, they hadn't thought that he would be willing to temporarily give up meeting with his eldest brother in order to help them. Then his feelings were much deeper. However, Bailey Hongzhuang and D. Beichen looked at each other and smiled. Senior Brother Ling and eldest senior brother are indeed brothers. Both of you are so willing to help others. Hearing this, Wan Yinling was slightly stunned. Junior sister Bailey entered Penglai Palace relatively late. Logically speaking, you shouldn't have seen my elder brother, right? Ha! Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. Previously, we were lucky enough to be in the same force as eldest senior brother. However, we were chased this time, so we didn't go with him. Chapter 4462. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded with a smile. Eldest senior brother is in Rome in city. When I first arrived in the upper realm, it was eldest senior brother who saved me. Speaking of which, this is all fate. As she recounted the process of how she met Wan Yanhan, everyone was deeply moved. They didn't expect their fate to be so deep. Hongzhuang, according to what you said, you didn't come to the upper realm with Beichen back then? Shangguan Yingying immediately discovered the problem in Bailey Hongzhuang's words. No. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head. I came to the upper realm on my own. Beichen came later, but he found me very quickly. I see. Everyone sighed faintly. They didn't expect so many things to have happened. Situ, Yishuan. Di Xiaofeng walked into the elegant sky residence with a smile. He immediately saw Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang eating. It was only after he walked in that he noticed when Ziren and the others at the side. They were obviously very familiar with each other. Are these the new friends you made? Di Xiaofeng looked at Ziren and the others with a smile. His attitude was cordial and friendly. Di Beichen stood up. They're all our friends in the lower realm. I didn't expect them to be teleported to Watercloud City. We only met them yesterday. Di Xiaofeng's eyes widened in surprise. What a coincidence. It seems that the fate between the two of you is not ordinary. Everyone chuckled and smiled at Di Xiaofeng. Why are you here so early in the morning? Di Beichen looked at Di Xiaofeng in confusion. Logically speaking, Di Xiaofeng should have stayed there to take care of the Bailey sisters. There's nothing going on over there. Yin Yin is now chatting with Shi Er. It's not convenient for a man like me to follow, so I just came over. After all, I said I would be the host. I can't just leave you here. Hearing this, Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Di Xiaofeng was really enthusiastic. Xiaofeng, we plan to leave tomorrow, Di Beichen said slowly after thinking for a while. Since they had already made their decision, they did not intend to stay here any longer. It was better to go back and figure out everything. You're leaving so soon? I didn't even treat you properly. Di Xiaofeng frowned. His bright eyes dimmed. He was clearly unhappy. You've already done a good job. Di Beichen's expression was serious and solemn. You also know that we came to Watercloud City because we were being hunted. Now we also want to go back and find out who did it. Looking at Di Beichen's serious expression, Di Xiaofeng stopped joking and asked seriously, do you need my help? No need. We'll find out ourselves. Di Beichen patted Di Xiaofeng's shoulder. Thank you for your kindness. Although he guessed that Di Xiaofeng had a certain background, he did not want to drag Di Xiaofeng down with him. Since you've already decided, I won't keep you. I hope we'll have a chance to meet again in the future. We definitely will. If you need my help and can't find me, you could tell the manager of Elegant Sky House. He has a way to find me, Di Xiaofeng reminded. Thank you. Since you're leaving tomorrow, let's have a good gathering today. How about it? Chapter 4463. Inside the room, Beichun, this person you know also has the surname Di. Could he be related to the Di family? Ziren looked at Di Beichun. Although this was his first time meeting Di Xiaofeng, he felt that Di Xiaofeng's temperament was extraordinary. He shouldn't be an ordinary person. Faintly, he even felt that Di Xiaofeng might be a member of the Di family. We've asked, and he said there's no relationship. Di Beichen smiled faintly. He also understood why Ziren would have such a guess. In fact, when he first found out, he also had such a thought, but in the end, he dismissed it. The surname Di rarely appears in the lower realm, but appears more frequently in the upper realm, Bailey Hongzhuang slowly said. The Di family had existed for so many years, and, in the process, there must have been many branch descendants. After several generations, although the surname was still Di, it was no longer related. So that's how it is. Ziren suddenly understood. That's true. If there really was such a relationship, you would have asked long ago. Why would you need me to worry about it? As he said this, Ziren couldn't help but laugh. Whether it was Di Beichun or Bailey Hongzhuang, they were both attentive people. They must have discovered this problem long ago. On this day, Di Beichun and the others had a good time touring the city under Di Xiaofeng's guidance. Xiren and the others had just arrived in the upper realm, so they were quite curious about many things here. With Di Xiaofeng and the others' introduction, touring Water Cloud City was like an outing. Bailey Yunyan also rushed over after learning that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were leaving. Missy Xuan, I didn't expect you to leave so soon, Bailey Yunyan said with a regretful expression. I wanted to spend more time with you. Seeing the sincerity in Bailey Yunyan's beautiful eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up slightly. I also want to, but we still have some things to do, so we have to leave. I believe we'll have a chance to meet again in the future. It won't be too late to meet then. Bailey Yunyan nodded. I also think that day will come. Although they said that, they also understood that in this vast upper realm, once they went to different places, it would not be easy for them to meet again in the future. Before leaving, Bailey Hongzhuang checked on Bailey Shi's situation again and explained any possible problem she might encounter before leaving with peace of mind. Situ Yishuan, take care. Emperor Xiaofeng's eyes darkened. Take care of yourselves too. Di Beichun and Di Xiaofeng looked at each other. They were really fated. They had come to Water Cloud City because they were being hunted, and Di Xiaofeng had met them because he was being hunted. In fact, even if they didn't leave, Di Xiaofeng would have to leave Water Cloud City sooner or later to investigate the identity of his pursuers. Just like that, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others began their journey back to Rome and City. Along the way, the happiest person was Wan Yanling, thinking back to when Xiren and the others had found Di Beichun so easily. He couldn't help but feel a little envious. He didn't expect that he would also find out his big brother's location so easily. It had been a long time since he last saw his big brother. Fortunately, from Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun, he learned that his big brother was doing well, so he was relieved. Chapter 4464. Beichun, why didn't you tell Di Xiaofeng your true identity this time? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows and looked at Di Beichun. She knew very well that Di Beichun really regarded Di Xiaofeng as a friend. She thought that he would definitely tell Di Xiaofeng all this, but she didn't expect that he chose not to say it. Telling him will only cause trouble. Di Beichun slowly said, Our opponent is so powerful. As long as he knows that we are still alive, he will definitely not let us go easily. If Di Xiaofeng knows our true situation and accidentally tells it, it will bring him trouble. That would be really bad. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang also understood. It was precisely because he regarded Di Xiaofeng as a true friend that he didn't want to harm him. When we solve these problems in the future, it won't be too late to talk about it when we have the chance to meet him. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded with a smile. She only hoped that they would have a chance to meet again in the future. Everyone walked all the way in the direction of Rome and City. There was some distance between Rome and City and Tianshui City, and it would take some time to travel, but fortunately, it wasn't too far. They only needed to walk to the transmission array to be able to be transmitted, so it didn't take too much time. While Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were hurrying, Wan Yanhan and Yi Haomiao were immersed in the grief of Di Beichun's death. They never thought that going out to gain experience would turn out like this. Their last friend died, just like that. They didn't even know who did it. They wanted to take revenge, but they couldn't. How uncomfortable was this feeling? Alas, if we knew it would be like this, we wouldn't have gone. Yi Haomiao sighed faintly. Recalling the days when he was with Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun, he really missed it. Unfortunately, he couldn't go back. Wan Yanhan fell into silence. In the end, they were involved in this dispute because of me. I hope I can still get to know them in my next life. Yi Haomiao sighed. I'm getting more and more unhappy when I see Xiao Rojin now. She usually pretends to be benevolent, but this time, she's completely exposed. Without Beichun and Hongzhuang, our situation in the Blazing Sect has become difficult. We should focus on our cultivation. Otherwise, it will be difficult for us to maintain our current positions. Wan Yanhan had a complicated expression on his face. He knew very well that the main reason why they developed well in the Raging Flame School was because of Bailey Hongzhuang. On one hand, it was because she was an inscription master. On the other hand, it was because she was an extremely talented light attribute cultivator. At the end of the day, they were just basking in the limelight. Now that the Hongzhuang duo was no longer around, they had to rely on themselves. A few days later, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others successfully arrived at Rong'an City. Looking at this familiar city, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun felt rather emotional. Beichun will join the Raging Flame School under another identity when we return. What do you think? Bailey Hongzhuang asked with raised brows. Since those assassins knew they were coming here to kill them, they would naturally confirm the news here. If they returned with their original appearances, they would probably be discovered very quickly. Thus, their only choice was to hide their identities. Di Beichun nodded slightly. All right. Chapter 4465. What should we do now? Wang Yanling looked at Di Beichun. Go directly to the Raging Flame School to find my big brother? That doesn't seem appropriate. Although he was looking forward to seeing his big brother immediately, he didn't want to bring trouble to Di Beichun and the others because of his own affairs. You guys go to the restaurant first. We'll go find our big brother. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. We know where he usually goes. We'll go directly to him. Okay. After seeing everyone enter the restaurant, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun set off. Big brother usually has things to do in the guild. At this time, he might be on his way to the guild. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Beichun. They had been with Wang Yanhan for a long time and had a certain understanding of his habits. Di Beichun nodded. Go to the path that they must pass. You'll definitely see them. Wang Yanhan and Yi Haomiao went to the guild as usual. As a member of the guild, they could obtain some cultivation resources by doing some things for the guild. For cultivators like them who had no background, cultivation resources were undoubtedly extremely important. Having such an opportunity was already a great thing for them. It didn't take long for Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun to see two familiar figures coming in their direction. Both of them couldn't help but chuckle. Look, it's Big Brother and Haomiao. As Wang Yanhan and Yi Haomiao got closer, Di Beichun pretended to accidentally bump into them. Ouch! Yi Haomiao took 2 steps back. He frowned and looked at the man in front of him unhappily. Why don't you watch where you're going? Sorry. Di Beichun smiled. Looking at Di Beichun's bright smile, Yi Haomiao felt annoyed for no reason. Do you look like you're apologizing? Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a smile. Brother, I can tell at a glance that we are destined to be good friends. What do you think? What nonsense are you talking about? Yi Haomiao looked at the 2 people in front of him in confusion. Whether it was their appearance or their words, they were all baffling. He actually didn't know what to say. He had seen people who acted like they were familiar with each other, but he had never seen someone who acted like they were familiar with each other. Wang Yanhan looked at the 2 people in front of him, but inexplicably felt a feeling of déjà vu. He could not help asking, who are you guys? Of course we're your good friends. Bailey Hongzhuang dragged her words. Eldest senior brother. Both Wang Yanhan and Yi Haomiao couldn't help but be stunned when they heard the words eldest senior brother. Both of them widened their eyes in disbelief. Junior sister? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and nodded. Haha, it's been a long time. Junior sister, you guys are still alive? Wang Yanhan's face was filled with surprise. That's great. So it's you guys. I was wondering why the other party was so baffling. You guys are deliberately messing with me. Yi Haomiao laughed and scolded. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. Isn't this a surprise for you guys? Where have you been all this time? We thought you guys. Shoo. Di Beichun lowered his voice. Chapter 4466. Eldest senior brother. Come find us at the Yunlai restaurant when you're done, Bailey Hongzhuang said. However, Wang Yanhan shook his head. How can we still be in the mood to go to the guild in this situation? You should tell us what happened during this period of time. It's been too torturous for us. Seeing that Di Beichun and Bailey Hongzhuang had returned safely, they felt as if a huge rock had been lifted from their hearts. Their entire bodies relaxed, and their hearts were immersed in joy. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun looked at each other and nodded with a smile. Okay, then let's talk as we walk. This time we came back with a big gift for you, eldest senior brother. Bailey Hongzhuang blinked and pretended to be mysterious. A big gift? Wang Yanhan looked puzzled. What gift? You'll know when you see it with your own eyes. Your return this time is really mysterious. Yi Hao Miao narrowed his eyes. Obviously, he felt helpless against these two people who kept him in suspense. As long as it's a surprise and not a shock. That's true. In that case, you also don't know who attacked you previously? Wang Yanhan's face was filled with surprise. He completely didn't expect such an outcome. Di Baichen nodded. The other party was very secretive. They didn't say anything until the end. We think it was either Xiao Rojin or the vice president of the Holy Assembly. These two people are not easy to deal with. Yi Hao Miao's eyes were filled with disgust. He really didn't have a good impression of these two people. We've come back this time to confirm the identity of the person who attacked us. Then, are you disguising yourselves to avoid being discovered by them? Wang Yanhan asked. He had already seen Bailey Hongzhuang's disguise technique, so he didn't find it strange at all. That's right. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. The assassins from last time must have thought that we were dead. If we come back, we will definitely attract their attention again. Last time, we had a narrow escape from death. If we encounter it again, we might not be so lucky. You're right. Wang Yanhan's expression was solemn and serious. This time, after you come back, you must be careful. You must not be discovered by them. Don't worry. Hao Miao and I will keep it a secret. We definitely won't let it slip. Yi Hao Miao hurriedly nodded as well. That's right, we definitely won't leak it out. Previously, when they thought that Bailey Hongzhuang and Gu Shijiu had met with a mishap, they felt terrible for a long time. They thought that they would never be able to get rid of the guilt in their hearts in this lifetime. Now that the two of them had returned safely, they did not want to go through the same thing again. Of course we believe you, Di Baichen replied. Not long after, the group of four arrived at Yunlai restaurant. After asking the innkeeper, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others already knew where Ziren and the others' rooms were. They immediately went up. Standing outside the door, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Wang Yanhan with a smile. Eldest senior brother, the big surprise I want to give you is inside. Di Baichen also smiled faintly and nodded. He had often heard Wang Yanhan mention Wang Yanling. Now that he could finally see her in the upper world, he must be extremely excited. Chapter 4467. Wang Yanhan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang helplessly, but he was also looking forward to it. The two of them said they wanted to give him a surprise when they met. He couldn't figure out what kind of surprise they had prepared for him. Inside the room, Wang Yanling had been waiting for Bailey Hongzhuang and Wang Yanhan to come back. Suddenly, he heard a familiar voice outside the door. His eyes lit up. He hadn't heard his elder brother's voice for a long time. This was clearly his elder brother's voice. As Wang Yanhan pushed open the door, he saw his younger brother, Wang Yanling, looking at the figure in front of him. He couldn't help but be stunned. Then his stunned expression turned into a deep surprise and even ecstasy. Younger brother, elder brother. Their voices were filled with excitement and joy. They immediately gave each other a hug. Younger brother, you finally came to the upper world. Wang Yanhan's eyes flashed with excitement. Back then, the two of them came to Penglai Island to explore. Later, he came to the upper world first, and then he had been waiting for Wang Yanling to come. However, it had been so long. Although he had been looking forward to it, he didn't know when he would see his younger brother again. He didn't expect to suddenly give him such a big surprise. He even wondered if he was dreaming. Wang Yanling nodded excitedly. Yes, elder brother. I'm late. After the two brothers calmed down, Wang Yanhan looked at Ziren and the others. Seeing this, Di Baichen introduced, they are Mo Yunjue, Ziren, and Shang Waningying. They are all our good friends and also cultivators of Penglai Palace. So it's junior brother and sister. Wang Yanhan cupped his fists. Greetings, elder brother. I've long heard that elder brother is dignified and elegant. Today, I see that you really live up to your reputation. Junior brother and sister are too polite. But you guys, you already have such cultivation at such a young age. You will definitely have great achievements in the future. Wang Yanhan's face was full of smiles. He turned to Wang Yanling and said, Little brother, did you meet by chance? I came with junior brother Mo and the others. When we were in Shuiyun City, we happened to run into junior brother Di and the others. They knew that you were here, so we came together. Following Wang Yanling's words, Wang Yanhan finally understood. I see. Eldest senior brother, are you satisfied with the surprise we prepared? Bailey Hongzhuang asked with a smile. Wang Yanhan nodded repeatedly. Satisfied, I'm very satisfied. But why are you going to Shuiyan City? It's a long story. When everyone gathered together, Bailey Hongzhuang told them what had happened that day. After listening to everything, Wang Yanhan and Yi Haomiao were shocked. I didn't expect the process to be so dangerous. You were so close to losing your lives. So we came back this time to change our identities. We can also take this opportunity to investigate who did it, Di Beichun said in a low voice. Are you planning to stay in Rome and a city like this? Yi Haomiao couldn't help but ask. Di Beichun nodded. Yes, there's no problem with your disguise, but it's not easy to pretend to be another person without being discovered. Chapter 4468. We'll be careful. Bailey Hongzhuang looked serious. Fortunately, we didn't know many cultivators in the Blazing Flame sect, so they don't know us very well. As long as we're careful, we shouldn't be discovered. That's true. Wang Yanhan nodded. Actually, they don't know much about you. Plus, you came together this time, so I don't think they'll doubt me if I say that you're all my junior brothers and sisters. That's right. Eldest senior brother, it doesn't seem like the time for the Blazing Flame sect to recruit disciples, right? Bailey Hongzhuang pondered. It hadn't been long since the last time the new disciples had reported. The Blazing Flame sect recruited once a year, so it naturally wasn't the time yet. It's indeed not the time for recruitment, but there are other recruitment methods. I'll go back and talk to Steward Wu. Maybe it'll work. If it doesn't work, there's no need to make things difficult. It doesn't matter if we don't join, Di Beichun said. Wang Yanling also said, That's right, big brother. At most, I'll wait until next year. Anyway, I'm already here. There's still a long way to go. Haha, that's right. Wang Yanhan laughed heartily and patted Wang Yanling's shoulder. Now that you're here, we can roam the world together again. Eldest senior brother, why don't you tell us what happened after we left so that we can understand more? Di Beichun's eyes flashed with wisdom and contemplation. They needed more information to make a judgment about the situation before them. The situation back then was very unexpected. When Yi Haomiao and I heard the news, we rushed over immediately. However, we only saw the corpses of the Di family cultivators. We didn't see any of you. Later, we saw two men in black. They were so fast that we didn't even have time to see them clearly before they disappeared. Then, we noticed the skeleton army behind us, so everyone thought that you were dead. Xiao Rojin seemed rather happy when she saw this situation. She looked like it had nothing to do with her. Wang Yanhan was very angry because of this. He even argued with Xiao Rojin, but she ignored him. Ever since you left, she became the only light cultivator in the Raging Flame School. I feel like she's become even more arrogant recently. Yi Haomiao's eyes revealed a look of disgust. In the past, he didn't have a good impression of Xiao Rojin. Now, he really hated her more and more. Any news from the Radiant Saint Hall? Bailey Hongzhuang raised an eyebrow and asked. I heard that the president felt very sorry for you after hearing about your death. As for the vice president, needless to say, she must be very happy. She's been looking for trouble with you before, so she's naturally the happiest when you're no longer around. Since you're coming back this time, your attributes naturally can't be changed. Fortunately, you've already awakened. When the time comes, as long as you don't reveal your true talent level, you shouldn't be discovered. I understand. Di Beichun lowered his gaze. His gaze was deep and profound. If they wanted to investigate the situation clearly, they had to eliminate these two possibilities. At night, everyone drank to their heart's content. You two really gave us a big surprise today. Firstly, you came back safely. Secondly, my little brother came too. Let me toast you. Senior brother, you're too polite. Thank you for taking care of us during this period. Chapter 4469. The next day, Wang Yanhan immediately went to look for Steward Wu. Earlier, he had already told Steward Wu that he had a younger brother who would be joining the Blazing Flame School with him. Steward Wu had also agreed to this at the beginning. However, when Wu Wenfeng heard that there were a total of 7 cultivators, he could not help but frown. You mean that all of them have to join the Blazing Flame School? Wang Yanhan nodded. Steward Wu, I know this will make things difficult for you, but they're all very talented in cultivation. They definitely won't disappoint you. Wu Wenfeng sighed and said earnestly, Wan Yinhan, you should know that I have always thought highly of you. Ever since you joined the Blazing Flame School, I have always thought highly of you. However, the Blazing Flame School is not something that I can decide alone. Previously, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's performance was extremely outstanding. In addition, Bailey Hongzhuang is an inscription master, so I agreed to let them join. However, I can't possibly recruit all the cultivators from Penglai Palace. After all, the Blazing Flame School's recruitment criteria are not simple. I can't let everyone think that I am biased. What do you think? Hearing this, Wan Yinhan nodded. Steward Wu, I understand what you mean. It's good that you understand. Therefore, I can't promise you this. Don't take it to heart. As for your younger brother, I have promised you before that he can join. Thank you, Steward Wu. Wan Yinhan clasped his fists together. Cultivate well. I believe that you will achieve great things. After walking out of the door, Yi Haomiao hurried over and asked, How was it? Did Steward Wu agree? Wan Yinhan shook his head. No. Hearing this, Yi Haomiao sighed. Actually, this is not surprising. With so many people joining the Blazing Flame School, the possibility of them agreeing is not high. After all, this is too big of a commotion. Everyone will be dissatisfied with Steward Wu. This is indeed difficult for Steward Wu. However, if this is the case, what will Junior Sister and the others do? If everyone could join and cultivate together, that would undoubtedly be the best. But now that this idea was rejected, didn't that mean that they wouldn't be able to cultivate together in the future? There's nothing we can do about it. We'll think of something when the time comes. Yi Haomiao was also somewhat helpless. If Steward Wu did not agree, then they had no other choice. If it really doesn't work, then we'll just wait for a year. Given their strength during the recruitment next year, there definitely won't be any problems. But they've just arrived in the upper realm and are in need of cultivation resources. If they don't join a force, it will affect their cultivation. Let's go over and discuss with them first. Although Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were disappointed when they heard the result, they were not surprised. With so many of us here, Steward Wu really can't make the decision. Eldest senior brother, don't mind him. Bailey Hongzhuang comforted. Alas, I still couldn't handle this matter well. Wan Yinhan was somewhat helpless. Steward Wu said that at most, he can only let my younger brother join because this is what he promised me before. If it's just one person, he can make the decision. Once there are so many people, then the man can make the decision. If that's the case, then senior brother Ling should join the Blazing Flame School first, Di Beichen said. Chapter 4470. Seeing Wan Yinling's firm refusal, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other and smiled. As expected, both Wan Yinhan and Wan Yinling were very loyal. Senior brother Ling, it doesn't matter. You can join first. It's not too late for us to find a chance to join in the future, Ziren said with a smile. They came here mainly to help Di Beichen find out who was chasing after him. Wan Yinling was different. Wan Yinling was going to stay here and travel with Wan Yinhan in the future. If they gave up because of them, it wouldn't be worth it. However, Wan Yinling shook his head firmly. No. At this moment, Yi Haomiao's eyes flashed with a different light. Actually, I've thought of another idea. I just don't know what you think. What idea? Everyone looked at Yi Haomiao with some doubts. The Green Dragon Clan will be recruiting disciples in a few days. Actually, you can go to the Green Dragon Clan. That way, the possibility of people suspecting you will be even smaller. Moreover, the benefits of being a disciple of the Green Dragon Clan are not bad. Although it's a little less than the Blazing Flames Clan, there's not much difference. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other. This idea is actually not bad. Di Beichen nodded. To them, it was just finding a place to stay in Roman City. No matter which clan they joined, there was no problem. However, the Green Dragon Clan and the Blazing Flames Clan are quite hostile. Won't that have a bad effect? Wan Yinhan shook his head. I've already told Steward Wu about this. He was the one who didn't agree. It's fine if you want to join other clans. After all, you have to consider your own interests. What do you think? Di Beichen looked at Ziren and the others. They might need some time to investigate these problems. On the other hand, They should use this time to improve their cultivation as soon as possible. We don't have any objections. Seeing that no one had any objections, Deep Beichan said, then it's decided. We won't stay in Rome and city for too long. I don't think there will be too much of an impact. Senior Brother Ling, if we join the Azure Dragon School, you should join the Raging Flame School. You are, after all, eldest senior brother's blood brother. If you join the opposing force with us, it won't be good for eldest senior brother. If word of this gets out, it might be used against you. Bailey Hong Zhuang's beautiful and delicate face was full of seriousness. She had stayed in the Raging Flame sect for a while, so she was very familiar with the situation inside. As a cultivator from the lower realm, it was not easy for him to gain a foothold. Once he was caught, he would be in big trouble. That's right. Hong Zhuang is right. Senior Brother Ling should join the Raging Flame sect. There's nothing between us. It doesn't matter which faction we join. Seeing this, Wanyan Ling thought for a moment and nodded. All right then. After everyone had made their decision, Wanyan Ling followed Wanyan Han and Wanyan Ling to the Scorching Flame School. With his talent, joining the Scorching Flame School was no problem at all. The Azure Dragon School's recruitment exam was 3 days later. Their timing was extremely coincidental. If they had come a few days later, they would have missed it. In that case, after we join the Azure Dragon School, we will also be able to awaken our innate talent. Chapter 4471. That's right. Everyone will awaken their innate talents when the time comes, but Hong Zhuang and I have already awakened our innate talents, so there's no need for that, Di Beichan said in a deep voice. I'm really curious about my element. Who knows, I might be a prodigy too. When Xiren raised his eyebrows and chuckled, everyone looked at each other and smiled. Now that the issue of where to go had been resolved, everyone was relieved. In the blink of an eye, it was time for the Azure Dragon clan to register. Bailey Hongzhuang's group of 6 immediately made their way to the Azure Dragon clan. The Azure Dragon clan and the Blazing clan were both in Rome and city, but they were on opposite sides of the city. It could be said that they each occupied a territory. Standing in front of the Azure Dragon gang's door, they found that the buildings here were mainly made of cyan. Everywhere they looked was a rich cyan color. The spiraling Azure Dragon was awe-inspiring, making people feel intimidated at first glance. When they arrived, the registration area was already filled with cultivators, ranging from their 20s to 30s. At that moment, everyone's faces were filled with excitement and nervousness. They only hoped that they could become a member of the Azure Dragon clan. When Bailey Hongzhuang's group of 6 appeared, they attracted a lot of attention. After all, it was rare for so many people to come together. Most cultivators came alone. Why do the 6 of them look so familiar? Are they all here to take the test? I think I've seen them with Wanyan Han from the Blazing Clan before. Why are they here? Could they be spies sent by the Raging Flame School? As the cultivators' doubtful words fell, everyone could not help but look at them. The Azure Dragon clan and the Blazing clan had been competing for many years. Both sides wanted to become the largest force in Rome and city. Unfortunately, they were equally matched in strength, so it was difficult to determine a victor. As a result, they could only keep each other in check all these years. Naturally, spies had appeared during this process. It was unavoidable, but once they were discovered, the spies all met with miserable fates. At this moment, another cultivator smiled gently. Calling them spies is overestimating them. They're all cultivators from the lower world. Wanyan Han did indeed want to recruit them into the Blazing School, but he was rejected, so they can only come here to try their luck. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's gazes changed again. Their originally doubtful gazes instantly turned into ridicule. So that's how it is, haha. At the same time, the old disciples of the Azure Dragon School looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others with strange gazes. Their old rival had rejected the cultivators outside the door to come to their place. If they accepted them, what would they become? Bailey Hongzhuang and the others obviously didn't expect anyone to know about this situation. From the looks of the other cultivators, they knew that their situation would be a little complicated. What should we do? Why do I feel that everyone is not very friendly to us? Shangguan Ying frowned. This situation was clearly out of everyone's expectations. First senior brother has always been the target of everyone's attention in the Blazing clan. Even the slightest movement of leaves in the wind is known to others. He must have accidentally leaked this time. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly, but that's fine. Everyone will find out about our relationship with first senior brother sooner or later. Chapter 4472. Hearing this, when Xiren and the rest calmed down, just as D. Bachin had said, the Azure Dragon clan recruited cultivators based on their own abilities. As long as they could pass the test, it would not be a problem. As for the other people's gazes, they did not care. After all, who knew how many of these people could successfully join the Azure Dragon clan? Just as the crowd was talking, the steward of the Azure Dragon clan walked out. Looking at the many cultivators gathered in front of him, his loud and clear voice rang out. The test this time is very simple. As long as you enter the testing room, the results will be divided into low grade, middle grade, high grade, and special grade. As long as you can reach middle grade, you will be able to stay. Low grade cultivators will be eliminated. As soon as these words were spoken, the originally nervous crowd could not help but feel relieved. So, as long as you reach middle grade, you can join the Azure Dragon clan. Previously, I heard from others that the requirements to join the Azure Dragon clan were very high. Now, it looks like that's not the case at all. That's right. As long as it's not low grade, it's fine. I believe that we'll have no problems. As long as it's not low grade, it's fine. This requirement is really not high. Shangguan Yingying looked astonished. There were a total of 4 grades. As long as they eliminated the last grade, it was indeed much easier than they had thought. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze fell on the room with its tightly shut door not far away. Her intuition told her that this test was not as simple as it seemed. Don't be happy too early. According to my judgment, I'm afraid that most cultivators can only reach low grade. A deep and magnetic voice slowly rang out. D. Bachin's expression was serious and solemn. It seemed that this testing room was very difficult to pass. That's right. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. We have some understanding of the Fiery Flames clan's recruitment requirements. Since the Azure Dragon clan is similar to the Fiery Flames clan, their requirements would not be lower than the Fiery Flames clans. Therefore, the only explanation is that this test is very difficult to pass. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang and D. Bachin seemed to have confirmed this point, Xiren and the rest's expressions became more solemn. They believed that Bailey Hongzhuang and D. Bachin's judgment would not be wrong. At this moment, the supervisor's voice sounded again. Everyone, don't think that this requirement is too low. In fact, it's not easy to reach the middle rank in this testing room. The group of cultivators who were originally happy about this matter could not help but be stunned when they heard this. They did not expect this to be the result. However, most of the cultivators were still in disbelief. I heard that this time, the Azure Dragon Gate suffered quite a loss in the demonic dragon abyss. Therefore, I guessed that this time, they would need to recruit quite a few disciples. Therefore, I intentionally relaxed the conditions. Indeed, I also heard that both the Azure Dragon School and the Raging Flames School suffered great losses in the demonic dragon abyss. After all, they had lost so many cultivators. They had to find a way to make up for it. Looks like our luck is pretty good this time. Seeing that everyone didn't care, the steward didn't say anything more. When the test started later, everyone would know the result. Now, everyone, start lining up and enter one by one. Male cultivators, stand on this side, and female cultivators, stand on this side. You will be assessed separately. Yes. Everyone quickly separated into 2 groups and stood in front of the testing room's door, waiting to enter the testing room. Chapter 4473. The Azure Dragon School had a total of 2 testing rooms. 2 cultivators, 1 male and 1 female, would enter each room. There was a table placed outside each testing room. The main disciples of the Azure Dragon School were sitting there. Obviously, as long as a cultivator passed the test, they would be able to leave their name on their handbook and become a member of the Azure Dragon School. After the first cultivator walked into the testing room, everyone looked on with anticipation. From the results of the other party's test, they could also roughly judge their own results. We have so many cultivators here, but there are only 2 testing rooms. I don't know when it will be our turn. Yeah, Maybe it won't be our turn today. We'll have to wait until tomorrow. However, just as everyone was discussing, the door of the first testing room suddenly opened. A cultivator walked out with a gloomy face. Immediately after, everyone saw two big shining words appear on top of the testing room. Inferior. Seeing this scene, everyone couldn't help but be stunned. They didn't expect that the first cultivator would be eliminated. The result of the test is disqualified. Take care. The Azure Dragon School's disciple at the door said indifferently. It seemed that he wasn't the least bit surprised by this result. Next, after the man heard this result, he could only leave dejectedly. Many cultivators wanted to take this opportunity to ask what kind of test was inside. However, the man clearly didn't want to say much. He only hung his head and left quickly. After the man's result came out, the woman also walked out of the room. However, in the next second, everyone saw two big words clearly on top of the room. Inferior. Disqualified next. The woman's face was dejected. Looking at the closed door, she seemed unwilling and helpless. Disqualified. Disqualified. Next. One after another, disqualified voices sounded, gradually extinguishing the enthusiasm of the cultivators present. They originally thought that this was an extremely simple test. They didn't think that it would be so difficult. This is already the sixth one. Until now, I still haven't seen a single disqualified. It seems that this test is really not simple. A.O. Lingxiao frowned. He had always stayed in the A.O. clan before. He didn't know much about the situation of the selection in these cities. However, after witnessing the situation today, he finally understood that the requirements of these forces to recruit cultivators were quite high. The strength of these cultivators is uneven. This result is not surprising. Mo Yunjue said slowly. He had noticed that there were some cultivators in their 30s who were only at the Starlight Realm. They were at the same cultivation level, but they were so much older. One could only imagine how talented they were. Average talent, pass. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded out, attracting everyone's attention. Everyone looked up and saw a young man standing in front of the table with a smile on his face, excitedly recording his name. Seeing this, everyone could not help but reveal an envious expression. He was the first disciple to pass the test. Once he joined the Azure Dragon School, his future path of cultivation would be much better than those of them who had failed. This is your identity token. Take it and go over there to rest. I'll bring you in after the examination. Many thanks, Senior Brother. Chapter 4474. Following the appearance of the first cultivator who passed the test, there were other cultivators who passed the test one after another. However, compared to the number of cultivators who were eliminated, the ratio was very small. Not only that, even the cultivators who passed the test were only average. Only at this moment did everyone understand that it wasn't the Azure Dragon School that lowered their requirements. What the manager said before was all true. In an instant, the cultivators who were originally full of confidence began to worry. I didn't expect the test to be so difficult. I'm afraid it'll be very difficult to reach average. I can only pray that I can reach the standard. High talent pass. Suddenly, the word high that appeared on the test door attracted everyone's attention. Even the cultivator who was responsible for recording the results with a cold expression revealed a smile when he saw this scene. Welcome to the Green Dragon School. Thank you, Senior. The man was about 25 years old. At this moment, his face was filled with a confident and proud smile. Such a result was enough to make him look down on many cultivators. Although there were many cultivators waiting to be tested, the speed of the test was extremely fast. Soon, more than half of the cultivators were tested. Other than the cultivators who were eliminated at the beginning who felt embarrassed and chose to leave, the cultivators who were eliminated later basically chose to stay and watch. After all, they also wanted to see how many cultivators successfully joined in the end. Soon, it was the turn of the cultivator in front of A.O. Lingxiao to take the test. After the man entered, Serene and the rest could not help but look at A.O. Lingxiao. A.O. Lingxiao, it's your turn soon. No matter what, you have to have a good result, right? Serene teased. A.O. Lingxiao raised his eyebrows and looked proud. Of course. Not to mention other things, I have to at least get a high grade. Seeing A.O. Lingxiao's proud and confident look, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest could not help but chuckle. Don't be too confident. If the test results are not good, we will laugh at you. Xiren chuckled. Ever since he became familiar with A.O. Lingxiao, this guy was actually a shameless person who could take a joke. Forget about it. With my strength, I'll definitely pass without a doubt. A.O. Lingxiao looked at Xiren. Just you wait. If I don't reach the superior level, I'll call you big brother when I come back. Huh? Xiren couldn't help but laugh. I believe you. Otherwise, I'd be taking advantage of having an older brother like you. Don't be happy too early. If I pass and you don't, that would be embarrassing. Don't worry, I definitely won't be worse than you. Xiren smiled. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Xiren and A.O. Lingxiao's familiar faces. She understood that they had been together for so long in the lower realm. Now, they were as close as real brothers. However, when Xiren and A.O. Lingxiao were making fun of each other, they inadvertently offended quite a number of cultivators. These fellows from the lower realm are really arrogant. Every time they open their mouths, they say superior. They don't even know what level they are at. Chapter 4475. You two be quiet. You're making everyone unhappy. Shangguan Yingying nudged Xiren with her elbow, hinting at the unfriendly gazes around them. They were already disliked here. Now that they had said something like that, it was too easy to make others unhappy. Although they believed in their own abilities, others clearly didn't think so. That would be awkward. Hearing that, Xiren and A.O. Lingxiao also noticed their surroundings. The cultivators who had failed were looking at them with red eyes. The dissatisfaction in their eyes couldn't be more obvious. Xiren shrugged and said helplessly, I was just joking. Next, at that moment, the Azure Dragon sect cultivator's voice rang out. He also looked at A.O. Lingxiao with dissatisfaction. However, A.O. Lingxiao, who had always looked down on others, obviously wouldn't take this to heart. After A.O. Lingxiao walked into the testing room, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' gazes fell on the door from time to time. They didn't know when he would come out. According to what I observed just now, the longer you stay in this testing room, the more likely you are to get a high score. Mo Yunjue's handsome face was confident and indifferent, and his voice was extremely firm. So, we only need to see how long A.O. Lingxiao stays in there to guess his level. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. Shangguan Yingying smiled faintly. No matter what, A.O. Lingxiao used to be a cultivation genius of an aristocratic family. Although his cultivation has regressed a lot and naturally can't be compared to before, passing the Azure Dragon Sex test shouldn't be a problem. However, while Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were full of confidence, everyone else was already certain that A.O. Lingxiao would fail. This was because in everyone's eyes, they were the people that the Raging Flames sect looked down on. After a while, Di Beichen's lips curled into a faint smile. Based on this time, A.O. Lingxiao should have reached the upper level. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but look at Di Beichen. She didn't pay much attention to the time before, but looking at Beichen's confident look, he probably paid attention to the time before. You non-humans are too observant. Now that you've said that, I don't feel any anticipation anymore. Shangguan Yingying sighed. She had been waiting for the results to come out, but the person beside her had already made a decision. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. You'll get used to it. At the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang also noticed that the expression of the Azure Dragon School disciple in charge of recording was a bit strange. Clearly, he didn't quite believe that A.O. Lingxiao could hold on for so long. In the next moment, the door to the testing room suddenly opened. A.O. Lingxiao's figure appeared in everyone's line of sight. The test is over. I want to see if he can reach the upper grade. That's right. His attitude is so arrogant. If he doesn't reach the upper tier, I'll have to laugh at him. Everyone looked at the door of the testing room with all their might, looking as if they wanted to laugh at it. However, the heavens didn't stand on their side. Two big words appeared on the door of the testing room, upper grade. The bright light almost blinded everyone's eyes. Chapter 4476. How can this be? He really is of the upper level? Is this for real? Those two words are clearly written there. How can they be fake? Suddenly, Everyone looked at Ao Ling Xiao with a complicated expression. If the other party was just spouting nonsense, they could ruthlessly trample on him. But when the other party really had such strength, it was no longer arrogance, but confidence. Compared to him, what right did they have to say anything bad about him? The cultivator from the Green Dragon House looked at Ao Ling Xiao with a hesitant expression. He also didn't think that the cultivator who was rejected by the House of Flames would be of such a level. Senior, shouldn't you give me your identity badge? Ao Ling Xiao smiled warmly at the man. He was smart and knew what the man was thinking from the look in his eyes. But so what? Hearing this, the man handed his identity badge to Ao Ling Xiao and said, "Congratulations on passing the test. You can go rest over there." "Thank you, Senior." Ao Ling Xiao smiled faintly. After taking his identity badge, he didn't go to the resting area immediately. Instead, he walked back to Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. "How is it?" Ao Ling Xiao raised his eyebrows proudly. "I said I would definitely be of the upper level, right?" Shangguan Ying and the others chuckled. "Amazing, amazing. Truly amazing. You want to be my big brother? You're dreaming." Ao Ling Xiao glanced sideways at Ziren and smiled, looking pleased with himself. "It's up to you later. Don't worry. I won't surpass you, but reaching the same level as you won't be a problem." Ziren didn't back down. "No matter what, we have to fight for the cultivators in the lower realm. Then I'll be waiting." Haha. Just as Ao Ling Xiao went to rest, Shangguan Ying and Ziren entered the testing room at the same time. Wan Yanhan, Wan Yanling, and Yi Haomiao knew that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were going to take the test at the Green Dragon House today. Although they were sure that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were strong enough, they still couldn't help but want to take a look. However, they did not approach the Azure Dragon School. Instead, they stayed at a place not far away. "I'm really curious about the results of this test. It's a pity that I can't see it with my own eyes in order to avoid suspicion." Yi Haomiao rubbed his hands, unable to conceal the curiosity on his face. "Let's just stay in this tea house and wait for the results. We're too close to them. If the people from the Azure Dragon School see us and bring trouble to them, that wouldn't be good." Wan Yanhan said. Wan Yanling looked helpless. "It's a pity that Steward Wu isn't willing to recruit them. If Steward Wu is willing to meet them, I believe that Steward Wu will recruit them without hesitation once he knows their true strength." "I agree." Yi Haomiao raised his hand and nodded. Steward Wu's decision this time was truly unwise. "Big Brother Yi, if Ziren and the others all become members of the Azure Dragon School, do you think Manager Wu will regret it?" Wan Yanling's eyes flashed with a curious light. He was really curious about this result. "According to my judgment," Yi Haomiao rubbed his chin. Then, his eyes lit up and his voice became louder. "He will definitely regret it." "Ha, I think so too." Wan Yanling was amused by Yi Haomiao's appearance. Chapter 4477. As when Ziren and Shangguan Ying walked out of the testing room, everyone's gaze fell on them again. Previously, a cultivator with superior talent had appeared, so everyone wanted to know the results of these two people. However, when the crowd saw the word superior again, they all fell silent. After everyone recovered from their shock, they could not help but curse. F***CK. Are you kidding me? There are actually two more high-grade ones. Are you kidding me? Did they really come from the lower realm? With such results, how could the Blazing Flames sect not accept them? The cultivators from the Azure Dragon sect immediately noticed Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest. There were only 6 people in total, but 3 of them were cultivators with superior talent. This ratio was extremely shocking. The most important thing was that the remaining 3 people didn't seem to be any worse than the previous few people. If these people were also high grade, then this kind of result would really be a little shocking. Steward Li from the Azure Dragon sect looked at them with interest. Although these little fellows came from the lower realm, their aura was extremely outstanding. Even among the many cultivators here, he was still in existence that caught the attention of others at first glance. As for why they were rejected by the Blazing Flames sect, he should really investigate this. Cultivators with superior talent would definitely achieve great things as long as they worked hard. Now, that the Blazing Flame sect was also lacking in disciples, such talents, why would they reject them? Thinking of this, Steward Lee immediately called the person next to him over and whispered a few words into his ear. The man immediately nodded and disappeared into the crowd. Next, the man's voice was heard again. Then, Bailey Hongzhuang walked into the testing room. Just as she walked into the testing room, Bailey Hongzhuang felt her vision darken. Then, an attack came stealthily. Hearing the sound of the wind, Bailey Hongzhuang attacked without hesitation. Bang, bang, bang. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure flashed as the attacks came stealthily. Her reaction speed was extremely fast. At this moment, she finally understood what this test was all about. However, this level of attack was nothing to her. As time passed, the speed of the attacks became faster. Bailey Hongzhuang could only hear the buzzing sounds in her ears. If she was even a little slower, the attacks would land on her mercilessly. She understood that once she was attacked, the test would end. Not only that, but she also felt a strange force sweeping across her body in the testing room, as if it was searching for something. Bailey Hongzhuang only walked out of the testing room when all the attacks stopped. Master, you'll definitely get a superior grade in this test. Xiao Hei's face was filled with a pleased smile. There was no need to say more about her master's abilities. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled, of course. However, just after Bailey Hongzhuang came out, everyone stared closely behind her, and some people even sucked in a breath of cold air. Gasp! It can't be. This is the first time someone of this level has appeared. Is this for real? This woman doesn't look special. How could she have achieved such a result? Chapter 4478. Please enter the text. Master, your grade is special grade. Xiao Hei's eyes sparkled with excitement. Although she knew that her master's grade would not be bad, there had never been a special grade cultivator until now. She did not expect her master to reach special grade immediately. Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly surprised when she saw the result, but she soon smiled. The female disciple in charge of recording was also slightly stunned when she saw Bailey Hongzhuang's grade. Her face was filled with shock. Special grade talent. At the same time, the surrounding Azure Dragon Clan cultivators were also whispering to each other. Their faces were filled with disbelief. A cultivator with special grade talent has actually appeared this time. Although special grade talent does exist, I've never seen a cultivator with special grade talent with my own eyes. I never thought that I'd be able to see one today. This girl is so young, and she's a cultivator from the lower realm. She actually has special grade talent. Looks like she must be a top genius from the lower realm. We've struck gold this time. The Blazing Flames clan has actually rejected a cultivator with special grade talent. Steward Lee's burning and bright eyes landed on Bailey Hongzhuang. The excitement between his brows was like a pervert who had just seen a peerless beauty. His entire being was filled with excitement. A cultivator with special grade talent. She's really an excellent seedling. He had been a steward in the Azure Dragon clan for so many years. He had often seen cultivators with superior talent, but special grade cultivators were extremely rare. If he had previously suspected that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could be spies sent by the Blazing Flames clan, he no longer had any doubts now that he knew about their talent. The Blazing Flames clan would not bear to let a genius like this become a spy, because a cultivator with such talent was enough for them to show off. He felt that the next time he met Steward Wu, he would have to properly explain this matter. Miss, this is your identity token. The female disciple in charge of recording was full of smiles as she handed the identity token to Bailey Hongzhuang with both hands. Facing a new disciple, she did not feel that there was anything wrong with this kind of attitude, because as long as it was a cultivator with exceptional talent, their future development in the Azure Dragon School would definitely not be simple. Many thanks. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a gentle smile as she nodded her head. When Bailey Hongzhuang returned to the team, Mo Yunjue and Di Beichen's eyes were filled with admiration. Hongzhuang, you're amazing. Mo Yunjue's eyes shone brightly. When Steel's Sun separated from Bailey Hongzhuang, she was just an ordinary cultivator. Unknowingly, Bailey Hongzhuang had grown to such an extent. It was truly astonishing. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Actually, I didn't expect this to happen either. As she spoke, she tilted her head and looked at Di Beichun. Why aren't you praising me? Di Beichun raised his eyebrows. My wife has always been amazing. This result is within my expectations. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. I'll go over first. After Bailey Hongzhuang finished her test, Imo Yunjue also walked into the test room. Originally, everyone was waiting to see Bailey Hongzhuang and the others make a fool of themselves. However, after seeing each of the results, everyone quietly gave up on that thought. Chapter 4479. Hongzhuang, you actually reached special grade. As soon as Bailey Hongzhuang approached, Shangguan Yingying's excited voice rang out. When Ziren also came over curiously, how did you pass? Why did you reach special grade? I don't know either. I just kept dodging the attacks inside and came out after it was over. Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged innocently. In her opinion, this testing room should have its own set of standards. It's that simple? Ao Lingxiao was stunned. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. It's that simple. It can't be? Ao Lingxiao's face immediately fell. I thought it was pretty good that I reached special grade. I didn't expect this guy to reach special grade as well. He glanced at Ziren, then said helplessly, That's fine, but you're even more ridiculous. You're special grade. How are you going to let others live? Huh? When Ziren laughed heartily, don't look down on us lower realm cultivators. You'll be at a disadvantage. After Bailey Hongzhuang's special grade, almost everyone was attracted by the two words special grade. Even the previously enviable special grade cultivators seemed to have lost their brilliance in an instant. Not long after, Imo Yunjue also came out. Special grade talent passed. The male cultivator in charge of recording saw this result and was already used to it. Fortunately, the other party didn't have another special grade cultivator. As for special grade talent, it seemed to be the average level of this team. Imo Yunjue also came to Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. However, Ziren and the others couldn't help but be surprised when they heard this result. According to past situations, Imo Yunjue should be at the same level as Bailey Hongzhuang. They didn't expect him to have special grade talent instead of special grade. However, they didn't show it on their faces. In reality, Imo Yunjue could have come to the upper realm a long time ago. It was only because their cultivation levels were not high enough that Imo Yunjue had been waiting for them. Yunjue, congratulations. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. A faint smile appeared on Imo Yunjue's handsome yet cold face. Unknowingly, you've already left me in the dust. Hongzhuang, your progress is really too fast. Not necessarily. I think it might be because your innate talents have yet to awaken. I've been in the upper realm for a while, and I've also awakened my innate talent. My cultivation method is different from yours. When Ziren looked at Ao Lingxiao suspiciously, Lingxiao, before your cultivation regressed, you should have already awakened your attributes, right? What's your situation now? I did awaken my element in the past, but if I want to cultivate my elemental power, I have to reach the astral light realm, so I'm afraid I have to start all over again. Ao Lingxiao looked helpless. This was not the result he wanted to see. Brother, Ziren patted Ao Lingxiao's shoulder. I really sympathize with you. Forget it. Ao Lingxiao pushed Ziren's hand away. Isn't it just starting all over again? At least I have experience, and my recovery speed is faster than yours. I'm not talking to you anymore. Beichun is about to come out. I think Beichun should also be special grade. When Ziren retracted his joking expression and looked at the tightly shut door of the testing room with great interest. Beichun's innate talent had been praised by everyone since young. He believed that it was definitely special grade. Chapter 4480. Special grade. The two large words that were shining with a rich light dazzled everyone's eyes. Everyone who originally heaved a sigh of relief when they saw that Imo Yunjue was a high grade immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. Another special grade. This team that came from the lower realm actually had 4 high grade and 2 special grade. This kind of result was a bit too terrifying. The Azure Dragon clan's cultivators looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others with complicated gazes. They originally thought that they were just a team that came to embarrass themselves, but they didn't expect that they would actually obtain such a brilliant result. F***CK, are you kidding me? It's another special grade? I heard that last time, when they were recruiting disciples, not a single special grade cultivator appeared. This time, not only did 2 appear, but they were also in the same team. Last time, it took a long time for a high-grade cultivator to appear. Now, why are high-grade cultivators like cabbages, one left, one right? Looking at this result, when Zyron's smile widened, I knew that Beichin must have a special grade talent. Huh? Deep Beichin slowly walked over, his handsome face rippling with a warm smile. Looks like we've all passed. Bailey Hongzhuang's clear black and white eyes rippled with a bright light, then looked at the long line at the side. There are still so many cultivators who haven't taken the test. I'm afraid it'll be evening by the time the test is over. Eldest senior brother and the others are very concerned about our results. Why don't we take this opportunity to meet with them? Hearing this, Deep Beichin nodded. That's good too. No problem. Shangwaning Ying and the others also nodded in agreement. There was no point in continuing to stay here anyway. When Wanyan Han, Wanyan Ling, and Yi Hao Miao found out about Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' results, they couldn't help but be stunned, their expressions becoming very strange. In the next second, the 3 of them couldn't help but sigh. It can't be 4 high grade and 2 special grade. Yi Hao Miao's eyes widened. Then he sighed and shook his head. It's over. What's over? Shangwan Ying revealed a puzzled expression. We've successfully joined the Azure Dragon clan. Isn't that great? Why is it over? It's over, it's over. Wanyan Ling nodded. It's really over. What do you mean? Shangwan Ying frowned. Her good mood dissipated a little. She couldn't help but worry. I can already imagine the look of regret on Steward Wu's face when he finds out about this. Isn't this the end? Shangwan Ying was stunned for a moment before she chuckled. So that's what you're talking about. You scared me. I feel that when we return, Steward Wu might come looking for us. Wanyan Han chuckled. This time, Steward Wu has really sent a few good seedlings to the opponent. Are you serious? He will come and find you so soon. Zyron also came over. He was very satisfied with the results of today's test. Wanyan Han nodded. Of course it's true. In fact, the Raging Flame School will send people to observe every time they recruit new disciples. Your test results are so shocking. In my opinion, this news has most likely been sent back.